welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another week, to the final week, by the way, the final edition of the Korean StarCraft League, the final edition of 2023, as we near the end of the year. We're almost there. We're almost in 2024. Where did the year go, Papi? Where did it go? As we have our first matchup here of the night. Exclamation mark B in the chat if you guys wish to have a look at the bracket yourselves. We have a pretty stacked bracket here. We have some returning players that have not competed in a very, very long time, as is being stated in the chat. But we have our first matchup. We have our PvP and spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Alkion. We have the Chinese Protoss player, the blue? What? The red Protoss. Representing the Platinum Heroes, it is Firefly. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have the Cyan Protoss. Let's go. Representing his new team, Mystery Gaming, no longer a starving camel. He's full of food, he's full of Protoss. It is Cyan. Let us go. We can delve into the bracket a little bit later on, but we have our starting series. Of course, there is some excitement around Parting. I know Parting did sign up for the first time period in KSL. Parting has been on a bit of a hiatus here from gaming, from competing, from esports, and did recently come back to streaming around a couple of days ago, maybe just under a week or so. He has kind of returned to the competitive scene in a way. He hasn't been very active in tournaments. It's a little bit too soon for that. I do appreciate that he's here, and I understand that it would be a little fun to cast him. We've casted Parting before, plenty of times actually, but I believe he's being covered by some of the other casters. I believe Steadfast, Enki, maybe Dave Testa, maybe Chicken Man as well. There's a lot of English coverage going on. And there are plenty of people that are diving on Parting, so I don't blame them whatsoever. But personally, I'm a big fan of these two as well. Also, I don't really know if we're going to be missing much. I mean, maybe I'm a little bit harsh, but I don't think Parting is quite at the level as some of these other players at the moment. So yeah, wish him the best. I do wish Parting the best, and do wish him the best when it comes to his return as well. You know, I imagine that over time he will be improving. We'll be getting back to what resembles to be his previous level of play. So do look forward to that. Do look forward to Parting returning. He's also been investing quite a bit into Stormgate. I'm pretty sure we've already heard that. I mean, he's been competing in the Stormgate beta events that have been going on, the closed beta events at that. Parting has been active in other ways, I should say. For now, though, we're getting into our PvP, and we do have a 2-gate opener from both Cyan and Firefly. Everything is looking normal for the time being, everything looking by the book. We should be looking to expand. We have Firefly going for the faster Nexus. We have Cyan going for a Stargate first. So Cyan is going to be looking for some economic damage initially with that Oracle, and we'll see if Firefly can keep up. We'll see if he can defend. We'll see if he can get a read on what's going on. For now, he's in the dark, not fully aware of the opener of Cyan. No shield battery in the main base. Stalkers are in position at the natural, so there is potential. There's a lot of potential with this Oracle. Meanwhile, Adepts are shading out. Shading out across the map, so Firefly is looking to deal some economic damage of his own. The Adepts are looking to shade into the main base, but so far, good Sim City here out of Cyan. He is in position to wall off. He is in position. There we go. The shield battery is thrown down. Oracle making its way towards the main base, and we don't really have much of anything here. Cyan will get a couple of worker kills. How many, though, does depend on the reaction time of Firefly. So we get into the main base, the first, the second, oh my god, the third probe going to be going out. We have to count, Papi, as we have a bit of a delayed reaction from Firefly. He's racing back home, was attentive across the map, and looking at the Unisol stuff. That was 8, oh my god. 8 probes, the Oracle will fall, but that was well worth it for Cyan, getting 8 worker kills. And behind this, even though Cyan did have a later expansion, he is now taking a worker lead. Solid start here from our Teal Protoss, Cyan Protoss, if you will. Adepts have been caught out in the center of the map and will be shut down by the Oracle. I always appreciate it when, like, a player with a color in their name actually plays their color. Like, feels good, man. Everything is right in the world. We have Cyan playing as Cyan. You know, when Azure plays Azure, Crimson plays Crimson. It's good. It makes sense, Papi. It makes sense. Those are the only that come to mind for the time being. But I guess Scarlet, kind of true. I don't know, but Scarlet in my brain has always been like, again, like kind of the Queen of Blades, like purple sort of thing. But I guess that's also applicable. Who else? There's got to be another one, right? Is there a teal? I don't think there's a player called Teal. I don't think there was a player called Teal. Who else? True. Oh, how could I forget? Violet, Poppy. Violet. Not wrong. Oh, that's a name that I haven't heard in a while. It's been quite a hot minute. Last I heard, Violet, I believe, was he the one who started working for Shopify? Am I crazy? I remember Violet's, or a Korean pro player reaching out on Twitter and being approached by, I want to say by Toby, and by Shopify. Was that Violet? Or was that someone else? Yellow, Eon Blue. No clue. I just remember because I'm old. Smurge, Papi Smurge. It was Violet or no, sorry, it wasn't Violet. It was the Korean player that was on Dignitas. I remember that. Unless, which I don't believe was Violet. Anyway, the Stalker's going to be facing off. I'll look it up after this. As we do dive on top of the army, 2 Stalkers going to be going down already. Not a bad pickoff here from Firefly. Does have a couple of force fields as well. Sentries, of course, to try to shut down and clean up this army. Meanwhile, Cyan going straight for the gold. Oh my god. Bold move here from Cyan. As Stalkers force a blink up towards the safety of the shield battery. We're about to have an overcharge as well. Cyan just looking to be leagues ahead here. He's upper base, upper gold as well. He still has that overcharge that he can fall back to. And he will force this back. And Firefly, there's just so much pressure on him to get damage done. Remember, he is still down 10 workers. Like, forget about the gold base. Even without that. But we do see Cyan overextending quite a bit here. Going to be bleeding out a lot of these Stalkers. 2 Stalkers do go down. Firefly is all in at this point. How many gateways? We have 4 gateways back at home. We have a 5th gateway across the map. We are reinforcing. We're just warping in as much as we can. And Cyan is caught in a really awkward position here, trying to defend both his bases at once. Trying to split his attention between his 2 bases. Robo is going to stay powered. Stalker's getting picked off, though. It looks like Firefly, he can barely break through. Do we have an Immortal? We do not. Uh-oh. No Immortal, no shield battery, no overcharge. Firefly, he can take a fight here, but boys are being pulled. They're doing a great job just soaking some damage. Cyan, he can afford to lose some probes. But it looks like there may just be too much. Additional probes being pulled as well. We're going to have to target fire those Stalkers. Firefly losing ground here, losing some of those Stalkers, but it looks like he will still barely break through. Now, remember, bearing in mind that Cyan can afford to lose a base, as he's killing every worker across the map. Firefly down to 27 workers here. Cyan, he can give up his natural if he wants to. I do think he's overextending. I don't think he has to fight here. And there we go. He is going to be retreating. Cyan still has double the worker count of his opponent. No shield battery on the high ground either. A bit of a misstep there from Cyan. He's had time to prepare. Being forced further and further back into the main base. Reinforcements are on the way, and it looks like Firefly, he is breaking through. Just barely. And again, I do think that Cyan, he had some time to prepare himself, whether it's shield batteries, whether it's immortal production, void ray production, anything or everything. And Firefly, he has barely done it. His economy was in shambles, but he's breaking through the army, taking control of the main base as well. There's 2 Stalkers left, and GG gets called. Firefly, oh my god, does take game number 1. GG. GG, well played. Despite so much being against him, he was down at base, he was down in workers, down in economy, but he was up in army. He did go all in, and Cyan was just a little bit underprepared for that. Again, no shield batteries, no immortals, no overcharge, and he was caught out of position, stuck kind of between his natural base and his 3rd. And Firefly, the only win condition for him there was for something like an all in, and barely did pull through. GG. GG, well played. Also, it's killing me. God, who was... Okay, we're gonna be getting into the loading screen, and then I'll check Wikipedia Dignitas. God, it wasn't Bling. It was select. That's it. God damn it. Shaking my head. It was like on the tip of my tongue. I'm like, it's not Violets, but it was a Korean that was living in America. I know that much. I know Bling was on Dignitas, but it wasn't him. It was Select. He was the one who I believe ended up working for Shopify, which was really cool. As we are getting into this, spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Oceanborn, we have the red Protoss player representing the Platinum Heroes. It is Firefly. Spawning in the top left hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the teal Protoss, the cyan Protoss player representing Mystery Gaming. It is Cyan. Let's go. Again, Cyan had so many advantages in that last game. He had crippled the economy earlier of Firefly with his Oracle harassment. He was ahead in the economy. He was taking the gold. He had gotten away with the gold base as well. He just had to survive, just had to defend, and just barely couldn't hold on. Just maybe being a little bit overconfident against Firefly. You know, maybe that's why we didn't see any additional static defense thrown down at the natural or in the main base. Cyan was just not taking it seriously enough and was punished for it. And with that, Firefly does take a lead in the series, but it's a best of three. Best of three, which means, I mean, it could all end here and now, but it could also go the way of the Cyan. I went Cyan to play red and Scarlet to play Cyan just to confuse the caster. You're an animal, Bob. You're an animal. Catching up. Fighting is probably gonna get clapped. I mean, probably. I mean, but I wish him the best. I do wish him the best, and I wish him, you know, I hope he's undeterred, regardless of how the tournament run goes for Partying. I hope he's, you know, gonna stick with it, and gonna continue to ladder, to stream, to improve. Do hope so. As we're getting into openers, and this time it's gonna be Firefly going for a Stargate opener. Okay. Let's go. You have little faith? No, I have a lot of faith. What do you mean, Slowbro? I just have faith in coffee. What are you talking about? All my faith is in coffee, Papi. Let's go. As the depths, they are going to be moving, are going to be shutting down this probe. Likewise, again, Firefly did delay his expansion and going for the Stargate opener instead. Oh, he's dunking on him. Oh, let's go. Coffee is a color too. I kind of. It can be. As for now, we are just settling into this again. This time, a bit of a role reversal where we have Cyan going for a faster Nexus. We have Firefly going for that Oracle instead, and we'll see if Firefly can achieve as much success as Cyan did with that Oracle harassment, as we do have the Adepts moving out across the map so far. Ooh, one of them going to be focused down already here, but we will commit to the shade. We're zooming across the map. Cyan, he is in position. He is ready for that wall. And does Firefly have much to do with these Stalkers? The answer is no. We're in a lot of trouble, actually. Cyan can keep pushing, and Firefly doesn't have anything to defend, by the way. He is going to be zooming across the map, but we have a full wall off. We have a sentry solid force field as well, catching some of these Adepts. And Cyan did waste some time here at the natural base, but here we go. Now he's pushing up into the main base. He could have done this a little bit sooner. Meanwhile, the Oracle going into the main as well of Cyan. Probes are going to be going down. And we force a recall of Stalkers that were at the natural, not in the main base. 4 probes go down at the same time, though. Cyan, he's breaking into the main. Yeah, he's getting on top of the pylon as well, looking to depower. And yeah, these gateways are going to get depowered. They will go down. And that's all the production. Firefly doesn't actually have anything else here. Bit of miscontrols while attacking that gateway. We do have another Oracle on the way. If Cyan was able to reinforce, then he could just end the game here and now. It may just still be too much anyway. We're going for the Oracle. We're going for a bit of everything. Yeah, Stalker is going to go down. I'm loving the... Oh my god, the warp in! We locked them in! The boys! The drone drilling as well, and we just get a surround. Cyan gets cleaned up. Very nice control then from Firefly. It was beautiful. That was very impressive, as Firefly is going to be able to shut that down. Meanwhile, across the map, the Oracle is still going to be threading the bases. Now, As the dust does settle, Cyan is still ahead. He is up in workers, he's up in army, he has Blink on the way. Firefly has a lot to overcome, and he can pull this off. We do have 2 oracles being active. We can, of course, threaten a mineral line. But alas, we have 3 Stalkers in position. Cyan is being a little bit greedy by not throwing down any shield batteries. He's heavily reliant on his Stalker positioning, and oh, he does get caught out of for a moment. We'll be losing 3 of those probes. Oh. We're losing 3 workers in between the bases, but he will catch the oracles. Forcing a recall, and we're going to get a couple extra hits in, but the oracle will survive. Behind this, Firefly is down 4 workers, does have a robo on the way. Again, this is very necessary. So Firefly, he knows that he's behind when it comes to Blink timing. He has to make up for that with Immortal production. Meanwhile, Cyan is pushing, and Immortals are still on the way. We need this here to hold on. Without it, it's going to be a tight hold for Firefly. There's a world. If this stage trap can pop off, if we can catch half the army, oh, and we will. 6 Stalkers do get caught out, and just like that, Firefly is able to buy a little bit more time. The Immortal will arrive, and this shield battery will finish up as well. We're going to have our shield battery, we're going to have the overcharge. Whew. Firefly is holding. Behind this, Cyan working on his own robo production towards the 3rd base as well. Firefly is still in a bit of trouble. What I will say is that we don't have to push into the natural. We're going for the sentry. Get 1. Ooh, we get 2 sentries, and we're going to go for the Stalkers as well. And overcharge has popped a little bit too little too late. We've already lost our units. And from here, we have high ground vision. Cyan, he can just bypass the Immortals, go straight to the main base. Dives on top of the production, picking off 1 of those pylons. Can we get the 2nd? Oh, yeah, we just get the Immortal. We just dive on the Immortal instead. We will shut it down. Not the cleanest of trades here from Cyan. Gonna be losing a couple of Stalkers, but we'll get out of here. Oh! Oh my god. Very clean micro as well, avoiding any more damage. Keeping those Stalkers alive, getting the hell out of there. Trading very efficiently. That was what? 4 Stalkers for 3 Stalkers and Immortal, sentries, pylons. Solid stuff here from Cyan. Behind this, he's getting into charge, getting into his gateway explosion. We started +1. We don't have a forge yet for upgrades, but I mean, despite that, we're still in a really good position here for Cyan. And Firefly, we've seen this before. We actually saw this in game 1. At this point, 1 base all in. We're far too behind in the economy here to try to get into a 3rd. The only way we can... Oh god! As the Oracle goes down, Proxy Pylon as well. I was going to say that the only way we can take a 3rd base is if we kill a Mineral Lion. Here we go. Firefly is committed. Looking at the armies, what do we have? We have half the Stalker count. We have 3 Immortals, which is powerful. That's a lot of Immortals. But the Stalker count is just not where it needs to be. Especially considering that Cyan has Blink over his opponent. Here we are. You don't see this too often. The boys are being... A Terran? Is that you? Firefly doing his best Terran impression here. Force fields are thrown down, buying a lot of time. The boys, they have arrived. We have a shield battery, we have an overcharge. We have potentially 1 more force field soon. There we go, the boys tanking a lot of those hits. Can the Immortals break through? That's the real question. There's still just so many Stalkers in favor of Cyan. He dives on top of the army, cleans up the probes, focuses down the Immortals. There's only 2 left, now only 1. And GG gets called. Cyan will tie up the series 1-1. GG. I should have said Hon Mono, is that you? Pulling the boys on 2 bases? Aye. GG. Oh, Cyan looking powerful. I mean, Cyan, he looked good in game 1 as well. Looking even better here in game number 2. Shutting down the Oracle Harass. Punishing the aggressive opener of Firefly as well. The fact that he did not turn back around with those adepts and that he committed. Really solid stuff. And now we're going all the way to the ace match. Going all the way. Game 3 going to be taking place on Golden Aura. Here we go. is lighter color. It is the medium by which we see color. Oh my god. You can see through me, papi. Ay, ay, ay. I left over lamb roast and made scrambled eggs for breakfast. Made taco beef for dinner with some tortilla chips and shredded cheese. That sounds so tasty. Sounds beautiful. You know what I had last night for dinner? I had some ramen. Let's go. I had some instant noodles. So we're getting into the ace match, and spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Golden Aura, we have the red Protoss player representing the Platinum Heroes. It is Firefly. And spawning in the top left hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the teal Protoss, the cyan Protoss representing Mystery Gaming. It is Cyan. Ramen. Oh, beautiful. Let's go. I'm probably gonna have some more instant noodles after this as well. I say some more. We do have a second broadcast later on tonight in 4.5 hours. In 4.5 hours, we're going to be live with Grand Platypus Open. So not a lot of time. So in the interim, I will try to very quickly make some food and get some energy for the second cast. I'll do my best. Do my best. Did have oatmeal today. Did have oatmeal for breakfast. Here we go. We are just going to be getting in with our probe scouts, getting a read on what is going on. So far, so good. It is going to be a 2-gate opener out of Cyan, 2 gateways here out of Firefly. Really, I'm keeping my eye on where the second pylon is going to be placed, and there it is. We have the second pylon in the main from both players. Neither player is going for a proxy. Now, to be fair, as we're loading into Golden Aura, I mean, the rush distance by ground is quite short, so a proxy isn't necessary if we do intend to go for an all-in. One-base all-ins are very much so a thing in this matchup, especially on a map like Golden Aura. So we'll keep an eye on our players to see what kind of direction we want to go in. Again, we've seen both players have their hand at trying to go for a Stargate first, but we can see Cyan setting up for his pylon on the low ground. Ooh, Firefly once again. Oh god! He thought about the Stargate, but he did not commit once the probe scout came in. So Firefly, he is going to deviate away from his initial plans. Or is he just going to delay? He may just wait to kill this probe before he throws down his tech. Yeah, it is going to be a double. Oh god! Once again, he's forced to cancel. He just wants some privacy. Cyan, get out of here. Oh my god. There we go. Finally, the probe goes out, but this is a very delayed Stargate here from Firefly. Ay, ay, ay. And Cyan happens to be going for a Stargate opener himself as well. A little bit faster because he didn't have to worry about a probe scouting him. So Cyan has a slight advantage. Adepts have been revealed. And we do have the expand on the way. So when it comes to the openers, both players are kind of mirroring each other, but Cyan is one step ahead. Faster expansion, faster Stargate. Now the other big deviation though is that Firefly did invest a little bit harder into these Adepts. He went double Adept into quadruple Adept. He's going to be moving out, looking for some economic damage. As he moves out, we have a Hallucination Scout getting eyes on the Stargate. And we can go for a Phoenix, and there it is. Phoenix is on the way. Cyan going for the hard counter. And Firefly has no idea. Remember, unlike Cyan, Firefly did not open Sentry. He opened up Adept. So there is no Hallucination Scout available here for the Red Protoss. He's more concerned with being aggressive. He is scouted as a result. Adepts are moving out. Cyan is in position. He's going to be able to wall off. He's going to be able to chase down these Adepts as well. And here comes that Phoenix. Now, this is a bold move. It's really risky to move out with it, but it looks like we will come across the Oracle just in time. Whew. If we missed it, that would have been disastrous. As Adepts will commit to the Shade. The Phoenix, a little bit of miscontrol out of Cyan, doesn't chase down the Oracle. Ay, 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 Phoenix was left idle. And as a result, the Oracle actually doesn't really do any damage. Did get a little bit of hold damage on the Sentry, but not much else. This Oracle should have gone down. Regardless, Cyan doesn't take any damage. Is going to be able to force back his opponent. Firefly getting to a Phoenix of his own. Cyan is trying to get some of his own probe damage as well. Slipping in between the bases. Doesn't find anything in the main base, but he does head into the natural. Doesn't find any damage here either. Yeah, and it looks like, unlike Cyan's Oracle, sorry, unlike Firefly's Oracle that escapes, Cyan's is going to be shut down. Does pull. That's a shade into the natural waste. We get 3 probe kills. We're not done. We do have a second Oracle. Firefly actually finding some damage here, and Cyan, he moves out of position. Does move out. The bases are exposed. We get into the main, and even more probes are going to be going down. Not for free, bear that in mind. We do have the Phoenix to chase us back. And we should be able to hunt down this Oracle. As long as Cyan doesn't let this out of his sight. We do have a backup Phoenix on the way. Ooh. The Oracle will fall. And here we go. Now Cyan can push. Looking at the... Just taking a moment here to take stock. Firefly is ahead in Workers. He is still behind in Stalkers though. So Cyan has a little bit more firepower. He has his Phoenix to support himself, but he's pushing into a shield battery and an overcharge. Bear that in mind. Does have a force field. Oh! Force field is thrown down, but doesn't catch anything. Spoke too soon. We do get on top of one of those Stalkers. We do force back the army. We get on top of the pylon as well, and we're going to be depowering that shield battery. A bit of an Artosis pylon there. Second pylon was out of range. From here, Cyan's going to be backing up, getting his third. And yeah, that wasn't a bad move out of Cyan. He was able to trade quite well for himself. He is taking a faster third, a much faster third base. And Firefly has no idea, not yet. There we go, he does rock up. Gonna get one of those Stalkers. Pushing into a concave though. This is not a fight for Firefly to take. And Firefly is being forced back. Yeah, big win here, a big fight for Cyan. Cleans up the Stalkers. And Firefly, he's in a lot of trouble. He's now aware that he's down a base, and we have a Dark Shrine on the way. Unfortunately for Firefly, we also have a Robo in production here for Cyan. He's working on detection.
Your probes are under attack.
Now, it is an exposed Robo. There's a world where maybe we can pick it off. Firefly's being active. Cyan missing the army. Yo, is there a world? Can we get on top of the Robo? We're going for it. Robo taking a lot of hits. No, shall we force a cancel? That may end up winning Firefly the game. Oh no. He dives into the main base as well. There is a forge on the way, so we can throw down some cannons. Looks like Firefly is gonna have to recall back home. Committing very deep here into the bases, depowering the Stargate, denying the Oracle. There's that recall. This was an expensive trade here for Firefly. Now, a couple of things have happened here. The Prism's coming in. Do we have an Oracle? We do not. We have zero detection. Pylons are now on the way. There's a world. If we can get these DTs on top of these pylons, we could, again, deny that Oracle. But we're not going for the main base. We're going up for the third. Yeah, Dark Templar had been revealed. 2 pylons are on the way, so this Oracle should finish. But damage is still being done, though. We have DTs in every single mineral line. Probes are going down. Just waiting for that revelation. So far, 6 workers behind this. Firefly is expanding, taking his own third base. Of course, we have a cannon in the mineral line as well. Yeah, cannons have been set up. These Dark Templar are going to be going down. Thankfully, Cyan was able to throw down those cannons just in time. And with that, Cyan still maintains a worker lead, which is crazy. Despite all the chaos ensuing, he's still in a good position. Does have the larger army, the better economy. Was that enough for Firefly? Now, what I will say is that even though Firefly has a lower Stalker count, he does have Immortals. That will help. He's got Immortals, he has some shield batteries, kind of in position. So Firefly could potentially take a fight. There we go. We're diving on top of the army. And first Immortal's going to be targeted down. Second Immortal will survive. Oh, this was not worth it for Cyan. Did overextend. Cyan bleeding out a lot of Stalkers here. Oof. They're losing even more here in the retreat. Losing 12 Oh my god. Losing 12 Stalkers as opposed to the 4 of Firefly. That was a rough trade here for Cyan. And now Firefly, he has momentum on his side. He is now ahead by 10 Stalkers. Reinforcements are on the way. We can at least deny the 4th, but I'm sure Firefly wants more than that. Island's going to be going down. We have the better concave. Immortals are on the way for Cyan. We only have one. And it's looking a little bit exposed here. Loving the Phoenix, but the Immortal is going to be dropped. Here we go. We go for the dive. We focus on every single Immortal. And now is it going to be Firefly's turn to overextend? It is. Firefly is going to have to retreat. He's going to have to back off. Blinks on forward. Goes for the Immortal. Doesn't get it. The overcharge barely keeps it alive. Oh, the bait! The bait on the stasis trap. Firefly dives on top of the Immortal, pushes into the natural base. We have another Immortal on the way. It's being chronoed as we speak. It's barely going to be coming out just in time, but it comes out in the face of all these Stalkers. It will fall immediately. And it looks like Firefly just has too much. Again, he had a kind of a rough early game, a rough mid game even. Firefly multiple times in this series would fall behind, but mate, just send it. Just commit, and Firefly will just claw his way back in, takes control of the natural, will depower the rover. GG gets called, and Firefly will take the series 2-1, advancing on to the next round. GG. GG, well played. Firefly doesn't need an economy. Almost every game in this series, he'd just be down a base, down 10 workers. Didn't even matter. Really, he likes it. Firefly likes it. GG, well played. Congratulations, as a Firefly will take the series. We'll advance on here in the bracket. My condolences to Cyan. Cyan didn't look bad. He did not look bad at all here in this series. I do think, though, that it looked like he was overconfident a couple too many times. We saw Cyan overextending with his army or not taking a push seriously enough and really being quite lax with the stack defense. There were a couple of moments throughout these games where I did feel like Cyan was getting a little bit too comfortable with his lead, and he was kind of lured into a false sense of security. And with that, Firefly was able to take it in the end. And with that, we can now take a moment to have a look at the bracket. Exclamation mark G, exclamation mark B, exclamation mark B in the chat if you guys wish to have a look at the bracket yourselves, as we need to zoom out a little bit. There we go. We have the first round wrapping up. Oh my god. The first round is in the books. And, oh, we're gonna have to fix that. But here we go. We have Firefly taking down Cyan 2-1. Firefly did accidentally input the wrong score. He's actually trying to get a hold on of Chicken Man and Dave at the moment. But Firefly did win the series, and it's going to be Firefly advancing on to face off against Dark. We will try to fix Challenge as soon as possible. We'll get on that. Unfortunately, Chicken Man and Dave are the only ones that can edit, and they are both. I think they're both casting Parting at the moment, or they're casting a series at the moment. So they are not available, but we will get that rectified soon, I hope. Scrolling down a bit further, we have Classic taking down Foxer 2-1. Big shout out to Foxer taking a game off of Classic. Very impressive stuff there. It did fall in the end, but Classic is one of the best Protoss in the world, so I hope Foxer isn't feeling too bad about that. We have Creator taking down Eastos. We have a PvP between Classic and Creator in the second round. Likewise, Cure is waiting for the winner of Parting and Coffee in the second round as well. And likewise, we had a couple of walkovers. I was also looking at DRG versus Nice as a potential for a series, but Nice was nowhere to be found, and looks like there is a walkover. So DRG advances on over Nice, and Oliveira is going to be facing off against DRG in the next round. Did 2-0 Gref. My condolences to Gref. Is a well-known cannon rusher, and unfortunately wasn't able to overcome Oliveira. And yeah, we're all just getting into round number 2, and we're going to be following Firefly into Dark. Firefly versus Dark is going to be coming up next on this channel. Meanwhile, Partying versus Coffee is still ongoing. Again, it's being covered by some of the other casters, so they got you covered there. And they'll most likely be following that into Cure. Meanwhile, we have our own series as trying to find some players to message. Okay, making sure I don't get left behind. Wait, what? Wait, what? What just happened? Okay. It's kind of weird. Am I missing something? Steadfast and Enki just joined us. I'm just letting them know. I don't know what's been going on. Tell them to go. Wait, no, I'm a little bit shocked because I thought they were casting Parting. Am I crazy? Oh, I see. The series ended and they're not following Coffee. That's okay. That's why I was a little bit surprised. I was like, shouldn't they be following Coffee into the quarterfinals, and they just abandoned him? Oh my god. Shaking my head. Aye. So Coffee versus Cure is about to begin. Coffee did take down Parting 2-1. And I hope someone is going to be casting Coffee versus Cure. Shout out to Enki. It looks like Enki is peeling off, and Enki is going to be casting Coffee versus Cure in Spanish. He's going to be covering them. They did it for the views. They didn't care about the players. Shaking my head. Regardless, we will be settling into our PvZ. I'm also trying to keep an eye out for Chicken Man and Dave just so they can fix the score. Looks like, oh, it isn't correct on Wikipedia either. No. I'll try to message on Discord. Heads up. Wrong score on challenge. Dave. Big swim. Por. Okay. Alright, cool. I just left a message for El Pollo Loco and El Dave Testa. And here we go, we're just loading into our next series, into game number 1 of this ZVP. Let's go. Gonna be on Oceanborn. Now we can focus on our game. Focus on our series. here we go. Spawning in the top left-hand corner of Oceanborn, we have the South Korean Zerg player, the red Zerg representing CranKy Z Gaming. It is Dark. We are loyal to Cyan and Dark? What? No, Cyan... We're not watching, Jeff. Cyan lost. What are you... And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have the Chinese Protoss player, the blue Protoss representing the Platinum Heroes. It is Firefly. Let's go. Getting into our PvZ again. For those who maybe didn't tune in earlier, we did cast Cyan versus Firefly. Firefly did come out on top. I mentioned before that Firefly did accidentally put in the wrong score on challenge. So I was just leaving the admins a message so they can fix that, hopefully, and fix up challenge and fix up the Wikipedia page as well. So we are going to be waddling across the map. Firefly getting into his opener, going for a gate expand. Likewise, Dark going for a hatch gas pool. Standard opener out of Dark. This probe just a little bit too late to really disrupt the opener and really delay the expansion. So we dip on in. I'll always shield for Creator and Classic for that matter. Oh, but what do you do when they both face off against each other? It's Creator versus Classic in round 2. Who do you cheer for, Pat? Who do you cheer for? Personally, I think I'm a slightly bigger fan of, I say slightly, I mean, Creator. He's very wholesome. He's a very wholesome player. Very easy to get behind. I think Classic is a little bit more standoffish. He's a little bit less personable. But he's got the skills to make up for it. Definitely. He's terrifying, but he's terrifying. So now, just getting into our hatch gas pool. Standard opener here from Dark. Meanwhile, Firefly getting into his own opener as well. Just a standard game so far. And we have our take of choice. It is going to be a Stargate opener from our blue Protoss. It's going to be Stargate, I imagine, into Oracles. I miss Stardust. Feels Stardust, man. Yeah. He currently if I remember correctly, he's a League of Legends coach. He's a League of Legends coach. He coaches League of Legends. Has been doing that for a couple of years. I think I saw him on Twitter recently. Talking about his team and the year that they've had. But behind this, of course, we do see Dark investing quite a little bit more here into these Lings, just making sure he's able to keep up with the Adepts. Firefly has arrived. His goal here is to try to find a way into the mineral line. Will come into the shade, but we have plenty of Lings here to keep up with the Adepts, and Firefly will not find a way in. Oh, and he's going to try to escape, but he does get caught out. One Adept does fall. The second will barely shade, but losing an Adept already is going to be a big blow. It is going to be that much more difficult for Firefly to hold on to his third. As Lings are racing across the map, likewise, so is Firefly. Oh, was even forced to throw down a pylon. Yeah, so a big delay here on the expansion. Pylon going to be going down. We try to catch the other Adept, forcing the activation of the Pulsar Beam. The Oracle has to stay back at home. And Dark is going for a pretty early Roach Warren. Oh my god. Okay, so this is a sub 4-minute Roach Warren out of Dark, and this is never thrown down unless it's a Twilight Council opener. Because it's a Stargate, because of the third base on the way, it looks like Dark is going to be aggressive. It looks like he wants to be in the face of Firefly sooner rather than later. Another Adept is going to be going down, and we're trying to force the activation of the Pulsar Beam. Oh. And eventually we'll have to, because we're getting so much damage done on the third base. Finally, begrudgingly, Firefly does have to activate it and does force back those Lings. But again, Dark, I don't think he intends on droning after he makes these Overlords. Okay, Queens are waddling forward. Spores are finishing, but they're the Roaches. Roaches are on the way, and we're going to waddle across the map. Oh boy. Here we go. The all-in is upon us. And Firefly, because the Oracles were kept at home, he doesn't see. He has no idea what's going on. Is now going to come in and realize, where's your economy? Firefly now realizes what's happening, and back at home he's preparing We have Stalkers, a handful of Stalkers. The Adepts were killed earlier. Shield Battery on the way at the natural, which means Firefly knows that it's going to be a tough hold here at the third. Here we go. Dark sending everything across the map. Roaches, Ravagers, Lings, and Queens. It's going to be a miracle defense here at the third base. Okay, a world where we can defend. We need the juiciest stasis traps possible. The most, like, beautiful stasis traps you've ever seen. And then maybe we can hold. Maybe. So far, pretty good. Not a bad start. We trapped the Stalker. Stalker going to be going down. Another stage trap going to be going off as well. Oh, that's going to be all three. The first one was good. The other two, less so. Dark is going to rotate around, getting within range of that third base. Lyle's taking down the shield battery. Oh, that's an Artosis pylon. Do force the overcharge, but both shield batteries get depowered. Not like this. The shield batteries, they do nothing. The next is going to be going down. And behind this, Dark is throwing down his lair. He is teching. Lyle's going to be connecting, and we're just breaking through the wave of Stalkers, the wall of Stalkers. Overcharge was already spent. It was already popped. And Dark will not be slowed down. Not by this army. There's only 3 Stalkers remaining. A couple of Oracles that are running out of energy. Good target firing by the Queens. And GG will get called. Dark takes game number 1. GG. What happened to Dark versus Cyan? Cyan got eliminated by Firefly. It was not added correctly on challenge. Was not added correctly to challenge. Firefly did beat Cyan in the first round. Those that are tuning in. But GG. GG, well played. Dark does take a solid game there. Again, he was just so assertive, so aggressive with his Lings, and because he was so aggressive with those Lings, he was able to keep Firefly pinned back at home, and Firefly was not able to see the all-in until it was too late. On top of that, Oceanborn, short rushes and spike rounds. You don't really get to, you don't have a lot of time to react, you don't have a lot of time to respond, so Dark making full use of the map, and snowballing out of control. GG. Who is Stardust? Stardust, he was, I believe, a WCS Europe champion. He used to live in, did he live in Switzerland? I want to say he lived in the My Insanity team house for a while, stayed in Europe. He was one of the many Korean players that traveled and lived abroad to compete in the WCS Premier League for Europe or NA or North America respectively. It was players like Stardust, Hyun, MC. That was the kind of the generation of players that were living in Europe for some time and competing in Europe. Man, MC. MC, the good old days, Bobby, the good old days. I mean, MC is a more quote-unquote recent player. Stardust retired first. If you remember MC, he went back to Korea. He joined CJ Entus. He played in Pro League. And MC was even, like, relatively recently streaming. I say streaming StarCraft, like, maybe, like, 2019, like 2018, 2019. I think MC was still playing StarCraft before he also became a League of Legends coach. Here we go. We're getting into game number 2, and spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Hardlead, we have the South Korean Zerg player representing Dragon Kaiser Gaming, leading the series 1-0. It is Dark. And spawning in the top left hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the blue Protoss player representing the Platinum Heroes down in the series, looking to fight back. It is Firefly. I miss Rain. Rain! If you were a fan of the CranKy Ducklings, and if you watched us in 2020 and 2021, back before Yaku was like full-time on his studies, I would cast with Yaku on a weekly basis, ESL Open Cup Asia, and without fail, every single week we would talk about Rain. We would talk about Rain in some way, shape, or form during our cast for ESL Open Cup Asia. This was like 2020, 2021. The reason for this, for those of you that were watching StarCraft back then, every single ESL Open Cup Asia, or I say every single, like 70% was PvP finals. It was just non-stop PvPs in ESL Asia. That's how both Yaku and I got so good at casting PvPs And I think that's also why, like, Asher, whenever he casts with me, he's like, how do you know so much about PvP? What's going on? Like, why do you know so much about it? It's because, mate, we went through the PvP era of ESL Asia, where it's just non-stop Protoss. That was back with, like, Zaun, Zest, Patience, Trap, Deer. Deer was still active back then. Just, like, Korea used to be just basically the land of the Protoss, essentially. There were, of course, a couple of Terrans and a couple of Zerg players, but more than anything, that's where you would look to for the best Protoss in the world. Just because of the quantity. Then one by one they all retired, and now it's Europe. Now when people think of like non-stop Protoss and non-stop PvPs, it's Europe nowadays. After so many of the Koreans did retire. But yeah, just reminiscing about years gone by. Yeah, Nightmare's another one, yeah. You just overloaded me with names of people who are no longer around. Yeah, I know. So many big names. Like personally, I always have been, always will be a Patience fan. I'm a big Patience fan. I love him so much. Give me back my Patience. More than Zest, more than Trap, more than, you know, all these other guys. Just give me Patience and I'm a happy man. Here we go. We're settling into this. We are settling into this, and so far just gonna be a hatch gas pool opener out of Dark, going for a third base. So pretty standard stuff here, nothing too crazy to really take note of. Actually, I guess I should say the important thing that's happening right now is that this time Firefly didn't harass with adepts. Not anywhere near as much. We can see the adepts, they're very tentative here. They're shading into the third. We're not committing into the natural. Remember, the dominoes started falling as soon as Firefly lost his first adept. As soon as he lost his adepts, he lost map control, and immediately Dark was just so in his face, and things snowballed out of control in favor of Dark. This time Firefly is being a lot more careful with the adepts. Doesn't want to lose them, doesn't want to throw them away. As a result, Dark, going for a very fast lair. This is, what, a 4-minute 10 lair timing. This is very aggressive. If I was to hazard a guess, I would assume this is going to be for Dropper Lords. But there's no Overlord speed. We are taking additional gases as well. 3 gases. This could be a higher form of tech. Regardless, very early lair, very unorthodox. Show us what you got. Dark does have Ling speed. We should have seen a Roach Horn, but there we go. Roach Horn is on the way. This could just be for Roach speed, to be fair. Like, without Overlord speed, Dropper Lords isn't as viable, so I'm imagining maybe we're just rushing into Roach speed instead. Oh, there it is! I shouldn't have doubted myself. I'm like, this looks like Dropper Lords, but there's no Overlord speed. Nah, we got you, Bobby. Overlord speed is on the way. Dark is going to be going for a big all-in with Dropper Lords, with his Queens, with his Overlords, with everything across the map. Let's go. Meanwhile, Firefly is still in the dark. He hasn't seen the lair timing. Firefly, he's unaware of the lair timing. He's going to be dipping in now, and he will see the lair. That is a piece of the puzzle. There's the Dropper Lord on the way. Again, a bit of a German taxi this time. So, 2 games in a row, different forms of aggression. Game 1 was just a Queen walk across the map. This is going to be a Queen drop across the map. The Revelation, I believe, does see this. Oh, God. Barely not. Barely didn't see. Back at home, what do we have to defend? We have Blink Stalkers on the way, +1 armor. We have a handful of gateways. And, okay, we know. there we go. We did throw down the Revelation. We have spotted the all-in, but this is a late reaction. That's a massive wall of shield batteries. Firefly reacting hard to this. He's fully aware that he's in a lot of danger. And thankfully, he saw the army coming halfway across the map. But is that enough? That is the question. Is that going to be enough? The wall! No shot. The wall is not a wall. The Lings, they flood into the natural. Queens are here. They can transfuse. But it's a lot of Stalkers. Gateways are being depowered. Lings, they do get into the natural base, into the middle line. The shield batteries will finish. This third base will not be broken. With 4 shield batteries plus an overcharge, there's no shot. But that may not matter because we're getting into the natural. We're getting into the natural. Probes are going down left and right. Ravagers have arrived, and we can bar down these shield batteries. They're bunched up. first shield battery goes down, overcharge runs out. We're out of energy, and it looks like Dark, he doesn't just break the natural, he will also break this third base. There just wasn't enough here. I believe, I had faith in the power of the shield battery, but 4 shield batteries was not enough, and Dark will take the series 2-0, advancing on to the semifinals. GG. Whew. GG, well played. Again, Firefly, he saw it coming halfway across the map, still not enough time to respond. I do think that a big moment was Firefly losing his natural, because if you remember, the first thing that Dark did wasn't go into the mineral line. It was it wasn't going to the mineral line, it was focusing down and depowering the gateways. He depowered 2 of those gateways, denying warp-ins, which did hinder the army size as well, and yeah, from there, Dark was then able to cripple the economy of his opponent. Oh, that's not... There we go. Sorry. Just realized that the score out of game was wrong. But with that, Dark will take the series 2-0, advancing on. My condolences to Firefly, my condolences. Just was unable to recognize how aggressive Dark was being, was unable to get a read on him and keep up with him, and yeah, the all-ins back-to-back did snowball out of control. And now we already have our first semifinals. Let's go. Up next, we have some results. Exclamation mark B. Exclamation mark B in the chat if you guys want to have a look at the back yourselves. Creator did play against Classic, but Classic did prove to be the stronger Protoss here on the day. Classic takes down Creator 2-0, and up next we have Dark versus Classic in the first semifinals. And because the lower half of the bracket is so delayed, because it's taking a little bit longer, we may even be able to cast both semis. We may be able to cover the upper and the lower semifinals as well, depending on how fast and how slow things are. We'll see if it lines up. We'll see if it does line up. As we are going to be getting ready for some predictions. That's what's really important. The Gamba, Papi. Get your Gamba going here, as Dark vs. Classic is going to be up next. And once we get our vetoes done, once we have our lobby, predictions will be open in the chat. So you can place your bets on who you think advances onto the grand finals. Will it be the Korean Zerg in Dark or the Korean Protoss in Classic? Gonna be up to you. Gonna be up to you to decide. And it's going to be a close one. They do go back and forth. They do go back and forth in series. Classic is one of the strongest Protoss players in Korea. Personally, I would give the slight edge to Dark. I would give him the slight edge in this series. But it's the best of 3. That's the thing. It's a short series, and one mistake can snowball out of control. So it's going to be a close one. Personally, I'm hoping for an ace match. I'm hoping we can go all the way to game 3. Catching up in the chat. Dear Hurricane. Oh, I forgot to mention Hurricane. Hurricane was the other one. Yeah. It's also still active back then. Hoping Trap returns to the game after the military, but there might be another game in time by then. Yeah, I hope so as well. I hope Trap is able to return to us. Zest, you know, there's a lot of players that are soon going to be coming back from the military. I mean, even if they come back, like, it's still... I mean, it may be better if like, Stormgate is out and Stormgate is successful for them, just because, as we've seen... even these like top tier players that return to the game, like, it's sometimes hard for them to commit to the game as much as they used to. I think a lot of people look at Hero and Classic, and there are a lot of success stories, right? Like ex-military players, like Hero, Classic, Gumiho is another big one. DRG, like, they've found a lot of success and they're looking quite strong, quite powerful. But there are also players like the like Stats and Sue and TY that you know, they're part-time players after returning from the military. You know, they're not really focusing on StarCraft that much. They're playing it from time to time, but they're focusing elsewhere. So we'll see. Just because, especially because Korea is so top heavy, it can be really hard to dedicate and commit so much of your time if you're not one of the best of the best. So it's yeah, it is going to be difficult for them if they do return. But again, as I mentioned, it may be better if there are multiple RTS for them, just so they can kind of branch out a little bit and maybe even compete in multiple RTS at once. That may be just like a better environment for them to return to. Catching up. I feel like there are less straight up build order losses in SC2. There are some build order losses in StarCraft, but they're few and far between. They happen maybe like once every couple of weeks. Like, we cast a lot of StarCraft on this channel, and I do point it out whenever it happens, whenever there is a build order loss. But yeah, thankfully it doesn't happen too often. At least on this channel, it happens like once every couple of weeks sort of thing. Thankfully. Here we go. Looks like our vetoes are done. Our players are ready. We're loading into game number 1, which means if you're in the chat, predictions will soon be open. Do need a moment here. As we load into the game. And you can place your bets. You can get your gamba going. Your gamba. And there it is. If you're in the chat, best of luck on who you think advances on to the grand finals. Good luck. As a reminder, it's going to be a best of 3. Best of 3 semifinals between our Zerg and our Protoss. Predictions are open for a couple of minutes. So you have some time to deliberate, to think, to piece it all together. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Alkione, we have the South Korean Zerg player, the red Zerg representing CranKy Z Gaming. It is Dark. And in the top right, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Protoss representing Twisted Minds. It is Classic. Here we go. We're nearing the end of the broadcast here. We've reached the semifinals of the Korean StarCraft League, week number 40. To reiterate, this is the final KSL, the final Korean StarCraft League of the year of 2023. And it's been a wild year at that. It's been, I can't believe, 40 editions of this tournament. Not just 40 weeks of KSL, but we also had the Korean SummerSlam, the KSL SummerSlam, a couple of months ago. So it's been really cool to see both Chickenman and Dave Testa have the initiative, to create this event, to create the Patreon, and a big shout out to all the people as well that do support the KSL, !KSL in the chat, and you will get a link to the Patreon page to support this tournament yourself, to help grow the tournament and to keep it running. You also gain some benefits. The main things are replay packs. I believe there are also some other side benefits as well, like if you want to cast the event, you can. I think there's like a tier for that. Some other things that you can kind of look for, or again, just knowing that you're helping to support the Korean scene. It's good. Feels good. Feels good, Shmappy. So the Patreon is available if you want to, again, go that extra step and support the KSL. Otherwise, we're settling into this. So far, Hatch Gas Pool standard opener out of Dark. Likewise, a Gate Expand into a Cybercore out of Classic. Everything is looking normal for the time being, which is what we expect to see. Classic, though, is a very aggressive Protoss player. As opposed to Firefly, who is playing more reactive and trying to get into the mid-game, Classic is going to be working towards the mid-game as well, but in a different way. Classic has become very fond of going for a Stargate opener into Void Rays or Phoenixes. I'm not saying he will do that every game, but at least once in this best of 3, we should be seeing that kind of variation. There it is, Stargate is in production. A little bit further back. And is rallied to the natural. So I'm assuming this is going to be a Void Ray, but we'll see. We shall see. The reason why Classic is so fond of that kind of opener is because it does lead into hidden tech. He can go for a Glaive Adepts, he can go for Sky Toss, he can go for a Charge all in. There's a lot on the table here for Classic that he can kind of spread his wings and really just thrive in. So now the Adept is going to be getting across the map, just trying to get a read of what's going on. Third base has been taken, Dark going for the linear third, and Classic is going to scout and confirm that. Just check that third base. Meanwhile, there it is. Not going to be a Void Ray, but a Phoenix. Same kind of end goal here. The goal here is to shut down the Overlord, keep Dark in the dark, keep him guessing as to what the Protoss is doing next, and this could go into a couple of different directions. On top of that, the Phoenix can also support the Oracles. Phoenixes, they can lift Queens, which will take away a lot of the DPS that they have to defend against Oracle Harass, and Classic, he makes some magic happen. He can gain some value, definitely, over this opener. As the Overlord is going to be shut down. This should be leading to a third base, but again, what I'm really curious about is what is thrown down after the third. Whether we go for a singular Twilight Council with gateways, if we go Twilight Council with a Forge, if we go Robo Forge instead, or even second Stargate into a Fleet Beacon. There are all these different tech paths that Classic can kind of pick between. For now, third is being taken, which is what we should be doing. Is in line of all those options. And there it is, we have gateways and a Twilight Council, no Forge. This is looking like Glaive Adepts. Again, the lack of Forge is a big tell. The other option that this could be, especially if we had a Robo alongside this, would be Charge, for a Charge-based all-in, which we have seen Classic do before. But for the time being, this screams Glaive Adepts. As Dark is going to be zoning back those Oracles. Zoning back that Phoenix. Behind this, Roach Warren's on the way. We're going for, oh my god, we're going for a fast lair into Overlord speed. This is going to get rowdy. This is going to get really weird. So, as I mentioned, again, no Forge, so Glaive Adepts makes plenty of sense. That's what we assumed Classic would be going for. But it's going into an all-in. As the Oracles dive into that mineral line, they do get eyes on the fast lair. One Oracle goes down, we get four drone kills, and we get a fifth, we get a sixth, almost get a sixth. But Dark, he's going for a German taxi. He's going for Overlord speed, fast lair, Drop Lord's going to be on the way, Dark is going all in. So he's going all in against an aggressive opener. But Glaive Adepts, they don't trade well against Queens and Roaches. So this is going to be a really interesting dynamic. I think I want to favor Dark. I think. I mean, the Adepts are going to do beautifully against the Lings, so Dark has to be very careful. Does get eyes on the Adepts. Losing a handful of those Lings. Yeah, there we go. Dark, he was just in the middle of pushing out, and he unloads. He unloads the Queens. He's taking a defensive position. Now, what Dark can do in this position is he can clean up these Adepts, he can defend, and then immediately counterattack. It all depends, though, on what he has left over after the initial defense, and whether or not he can hold. But now Adept's going to be threatening a Shade. They do get on top of the Ravagers. Ravagers almost go down. We Shade into the natural. And we lock down some of these Adepts. Files going to be grazing the army. 15 drones go down. Oh my god, the Adepts, they go ham in the mineral line. They kill every single worker. Dark did not pull away. He lost far too much. And now we're shading into the main base, and we're getting out of hand. We're getting out of control. Files will connect. But we've already killed 24 workers, and this is game-ending damage. Even if Dark goes for a counter all-in, he doesn't have enough. He doesn't have enough to really sustain this. Classic going to be recalling back home. He has crippled the economy. He's just eliminated the economy here of Dark. And now all Classic has to do is defend. What do we have? 2 shield batteries on the way, and Immortal. Oh, the Overlord! The Drop Lord has to get out of here. Does pull back. What do we have? Sentries and Immortal. Again, not the best army to fight against Roaches, but there aren't that many Roaches. There aren't any Roaches, actually. A handful of Ravagers and Lings. And against Adepts, Classic, he can deal with this. He can engage. Force fields are thrown down. The Lings get trapped. A good chunk of Lings go down. The Queens, they get chopped into the natural base. They're going to be getting quite a lot of damage done. It looks like the Immortal's going to go down. No shield battery. We have shield batteries at the third base, but no shield batteries at the natural. Biles will connect. And Dark, oh my god. Biles connecting once again. And Dark is completely all in with this, and he's breaking through. He is breaking through. He gets on top of the shield battery, piles it down. Adepts have been cleaned up. We have a handful of immortals, that's true, but only a handful. The Bios, once again, they take down the sentry. Now, boys are being pulled. And it looks like Dark, does he have too much? The queens are getting picked off. Adepts are coming in to reinforce. Remember, Classic has more than double the worker count. He can afford to lose probes. Time is on Classic's side. There we go. He's diving on those Ravagers. They're coming from behind. They're going for the Immortal. Oh, but they will not be able to get it. Yeah, plenty of Adepts are in position. They clean up the Lings. And it looks like Classic has held. It was a tight hold. He lost 14 probes in the process. But he does shut this down. Again, Lings can't really touch this. The Adepts, they just counter them so hard. GG gets called, and Classic will take game number 1. Whew. GG. GG, well played. Again, a really awkward game from Dark. He was going for his own all-in. He was going for his own aggression. And then as soon as he saw what was happening, he had to pull back. He had to, again, turn around and take a more defensive position instead. The first Shade was brutal. Remember, the first Adept Shade into the natural killed 15 drones. Like, already that first Shade had done more than enough. And from there, I think we went up to 23 drone kills. It was crazy. As well as trading with all the Lings. Just Dark didn't take the initial Shade seriously enough. He turned around, he had to fight with the drones, and that's how they all died. And with that, Classic just needs one more game. Uno más. One more game here to advance on to the grand finals to win it all. And we're loading into another small map. We're loading into a smaller map. We're loading into Hard Lead. Now, because we're loading into Hard Lead, I'm sure Dark is going to be tempted to go for it all in again. To go for either a Queen Walk or Dropper Lords. It's very tempting on Hard Lead. Likewise though, as we saw, Classic is a very aggressive Protoss player himself. As we saw in the previous game, just rushing into Glaive Adepts can be quite powerful against Ling-based all-ins. So this is not cut and dry. We'll see. We'll see how Dark adapts. We'll see how he responds. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Hard Lead, we have the South Korean Zerg player, the red Zerg representing CranKy Z Gaming. It is Dark. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Protoss player, the blue Protoss representing Twisted Minds. It is Classic. One more game is all he needs. Uno más, papi. Uno más. To advance on to the grand finals. And a lot of this is going to come down to the builds. A lot of this will come down to the builds of choice. And what both players blindly go into. Boy. Assuming that Classic goes for another Stargate into like Void Ray or Phoenix. Assuming. For now, Probe is going to be just checking the bases. Getting a read on the opener of Dark. It is just going to be a hatch gas pull. It is very important to take note of this because Dark is not afraid to 12 pull and not afraid to proxy hatch in ZVP. We've seen it plenty of times. So Classic, he is on notice. We've seen Dark kill Classic plenty of times as well with proxy hatches. Dark would just be making sure he has a read on what is going on. And we can just get in towards the early to mid game. We can ease into it. Overlord's coming in for a scout, confirming the gate expands. Everything is looking as it should. And as we load into Hard Lead, I did mention before, Hard Lead has a very short rush distance by ground. So because of that, I mentioned before, it is very tempting to go all in. We saw it from Dark against Firefly. And we could see it again. I say could, though, very tentatively, just because Dark did kind of fail in all in that last game. So he may be, especially because he's down in this series and because it's a best of 3, Dark may just feel like he can't really take any risks anymore, and he may have to go for a standard, more macro game. We'll see what his mindset is and how he approaches game 2. Whether he is afraid and he is going to be a little bit more timid in his approach, or if he just doubles down and just goes all in anyway. It's possible. It is very possible. Dark has no fear. As Classic is going for a Stargate opener. Everything's looking normal. Lings, they do slip into the natural base though. We're going for a probe kill, which gets surrounded. Good control there out of Classic. Just shut down the Lings. Once again, Phoenix first. Once again, Classic is going to be shutting down this Overlord, and he's going to be keeping Dark in the dark. Now, just because the opener, as we do shade into the main, we get 2 drone kills. Pretty good damage here from Classic. But just because we're going for a Phoenix first doesn't mean it has to be Glaive Adepts. Again, we're going to be keeping an eye on the tech of choice. It could be Gateways and a Twilight Council, which is Glaive Adepts again. It could be a Forge and a Twilight Council. It could be Robo Forge. It could be Second Stargate. It could be Fleet Beacon. Classic is very much so a player that mixes it up and does vary his play quite a lot, especially in ZVP. Overlord is going to be hunted down. Additional Queen production well underway here for Dark. Just droning up, saturating his bases. 3rd base is on the way. Everything is looking as it should. And soon we're going to be seeing our tech of choice. Soon we will see our follow-up from Classic. Oracle's getting across the map. Dark going for an Evo first. Curious. This is looking like +1 melee. Very curious out of Dark. Very bold, actually. I have things to say about that as we do go into the 3rd base. Getting a bit of damage done here on the Phoenixes. Oh my god, taking a lot of hits. Do have to back off. Do have to respect the Queens. Meanwhile, show us our tech. 3rd base is getting up and running. There's that +1 melee. So, I think that Dark plans on going Ling Hydra. I'm assuming he wants to go Ling Hydra here, and the reasoning for this, Ling Hydra is hard countered by Glaive Adepts, but because Glaive Adepts were used in game 1, I think Dark is hoping and assuming that we don't see Glaive Adepts here in game number 2, and he can get away with going into, +1 melee Lings into Fast Hive, essentially. Which Glaive Adepts would just completely, again, hard counter. And as we can see, that's going to be a Twilight Council and a Forge. This is not Glaives. This should be either Blink or Charge. A bit of a Gateway Explosion. I'm leaning towards Charge a little bit more, but we'll see. So our tech of choice is going to be chosen. There's that Baliness on the way. Again, we are skipping Roaches. There's Charge in production. Because of all these Gateways, it looks like Classic does intend on being a little bit more aggressive here with this. We're going to be hitting a timing with +1, Charge, and Archons. Temple Archives will soon be on the way. There it is, now in production. So this is going to be a pretty powerful push here. And Dark is going to be so heavily reliant on this. He does kill an Oracle. Dark is going to be so heavily reliant on Banelings. Without Roaches, this is still going to be a tough game for Dark. So this playstyle out of Dark is ideal against Blink Stalkers. That's what he was hoping for. That's what he was banking on, is for Classic to go into Blink. But it's Charge instead. Stage Trap going to be going up. Good reaction. One drone gets caught out. And here we go, Dark. Trying to be as assertive as he can with the Ling Bane. That's a lot of Banelings on the way. 8 Banelings. Lings are flooding across the map. We're looking for Surround. We need shield batteries. Where are they? No shield batteries at the 3rd, which means Dark, he can collapse on this army. Classic in a bit of trouble. Shield battery just now starts. Banelings are welding in. Good force fields. Very nice force fields. Zoning away those Banelings. Lings, they try to dive into the mineral line as well. Banelings are welding in, but once again, the force fields up. But they will get in. Just barely. They connect with the sentries. They don't get into the mineral line, but the Lings, they can deal with everything else. They're trying to, at least. The Oracle does race back home. And Classic holds. That was a tight hold, but again, the MVP force fields kept every single one, or most of these workers alive. Only 2 probes went down, and Dark isn't done. He's doubling down. And now we have a Roach Warren. A very delayed Roach Warren from Dark, but he realized what's going on. Gets on top of the army. +1 melee kicking in. And the Lings, they annihilate the army. Archon a little bit too late. Shield battery not done. And Bailey's there waddling in as well to clean up the mineral line. Dark, he has a broken classic. Oh my god, the connections. As we do connect with the probes, we take down 12 of them and we're not done. We have Immortals on the way, but what are Immortals going to do against Lings? Ay. Nothing, Baki. So yeah, we clean up every single probe here. 16 workers go down. That's an entire mineral line. We go straight for the Immortals as well. And Dark, he's just not stopping. He's just rallying everything across the map. He breaks through the Immortals again. Immortals, they are not ideal at all against Lings. Can barely deal with them. And there's still no shield battery, still no overcharge. And Dark, he's still just rallying across the map, by the way. The Ling Flood doesn't stop. It doesn't end. Finally, we force this back. But Dark Trade is so efficient. That was 114 Lings, by the way. Oh my god. 114 Lings, but he was able to deal enough damage, able to cripple this third. Behind this, he's transitioning into Lingbane Roach Ravager. He has map control, and Classic is stuck at home. Remember, Classic, he wanted to hit a timing with his own +1, but now he can't. Now he doesn't have an army to really move out. So because he's stuck at home, Dark can drone. Dark, he has the freedom to saturate his bases, take another hatchery, tech up, work on upgrades. Dark can do whatever he wants at this point. And again, just pivoting away from this into Roaches is going to be ideal for him. Roach speed on the way. Lings clearing up all these rocks. Like, by the time Classic can push out, Dark should be up to, what, 75 workers and with a Roach army as well. Classic left Storm, and to be fair, Classic is building up a death bowl of an army, like Immortals, Archons, High Templar. Like, this army is eventually going to be terrifying, but it's going to take a while to get there. Oh. So we got 6 probes here at the third. Oh no! Big connection towards the end. Yeah, one more Baneling is going to be all it takes to finish up those probes, to finish up that mineral line. Behind this Dark, he's been able to drone up to 73. He hasn't droned up to 80 yet because he wants to be assertive. Like, he's knocking down these rocks. +1 range is on the way. +1 range is on the way. And Dark, he's getting ready for the second wave, the second push. Like, in a way, Classic is kind of recovering. True, kind of. But again, Classic can't really threaten his opponents. He can't really have any presence on the map. There we go. Dark is pushing. Bailey's they roll in. Oh, they barely don't. Let's do barely wall off in the end. The Files will be connecting. The Sentry! The High Templar! 2 High Templar go down. Big Pigos with those Biles. Yeah, Darky has maxed out. Decent Storm on the ramp, but again, we only have 2 High Templar left. Yeah, Darky knows how vulnerable this army is. We dive on top of it. Shield Battery is going to be going down. Lings, they flood into the main base, into the natural as well. They distract Classic. And Dark, he's breaking the forward base. The mineral line is under fire. Looks like we're going to be forced back, but we killed 22 probes. And Dark, he can back off and remax once again. Again, the momentum that Dark has here is because of the earlier Ling Flood. He may not have killed Classic at the time, but he did cripple him. And once again, the Lings, they get in. Classic doing his best hero impression as probes are falling left and right. He's being pulled apart. Just doesn't have the supply to defend both locations at once, let alone his forward base. As we get into the middle line, GG gets called, and Dark will tie up the series 1-1. We're going to the ace match. GG. GG, well played. We're going all the way to game number 3. Whew. It all comes down to this final game. On what map? I'm not sure. What were the vetoes? Oh, okay. The final map is going to be Oceanborn. This is going to get wild. Oceanborn, another really good map for a Zerg player to go all in. We've already seen Dark go for a Queen Walk against Firefly on this very map earlier today. Is he tempted to do it again against Classic? Is he tempted? Does he give in to those temptations? Oh boy. Here we go. It's always a ling run by through an open gate. I mean, to be fair, again, Dark, he was pulling apart the attention of Classic with the constant harass. With the pushes. And not just that, it's also, again, the fact that Classic, he had lost so much in the lead up to that second attack where he was just falling behind. Or he was just behind. And it was pulled apart, and again, here we go. Now we're getting into the final game. Into game 3. Here we go. Looks like we're just making sure that everyone is ready. Everyone is good to go. Yet all the casters have converged. I believe Enki is still covering the lower portion of the bracket, thankfully. Shout out to Enki. And I think all the other English casters have converged. So ourselves, Chicken Man, Dave Testa, Steadfast, I think all the English casters have come together to bear witness to this ace match. I'm here for it. So we are loading in. And spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Oceanborn, we have the South Korean Zerg player, the Red Zerg, representing Dragon Kai Z Gaming, tying up the series 1-1 in that last game. It is Dark. And spawning in the top left hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the South Korean Protoss, the blue Protoss player representing Twisted Minds, being forced into this ace match. It is Classic. Here we go. Okay, so when it comes to getting into game number 3 here, there's a lot to consider when it comes to how this series has played out. On the one hand, so far every game, Classic has gone for a Stargate opener into a Phoenix, and I believe he's going to be doing the same here in game 3. Whether it's a Phoenix or a Void Ray, a very similar outlook here from Classic. I imagine we're going to be going for it, and the follow-up is really where we're going to be deviating. Game 1, Classic went into Glaive Adepts. Game 2, Classic went into Charge, tried to go into a +1 Charge or Archon timing. Game 3, he still has other options. He can go into Blink Stalkers, he can go into Sky Toss, or he can go back into Glaive Adepts. I do think that going for the Phoenix first is just a really good way to play out a series, and it's usually what Classic relies on, just because it just keeps the opponent guessing. Meanwhile, Dark has been quite assertive so far. Game 1, it was a 2-base all-in. Game 2, we had a Ling Flood off of, I think it was 55 or 53 drones, around that. We did have a +1 melee Ling Flood out of Dark. Again, Dark clearly doesn't want to be the reactor. He doesn't want to be reacting to Classic. He wants to be in the driver's seat. I say to Classic in general, like Dark wants to be in the driver's seat, whether he's up against a player like Classic or Hero or Cure. He does want to dictate the pace of the game. Which is also why I love casting a lot of these players. Like players like Dark and Hero and Classic, they all want to be aggressive, they all want to be assertive, and they're kind of like fighting for control of the mic. They all want to lay down their beats. And there it is. Stargate opener out of our Protoss. So far, everything is looking as it should. Likewise, Dark across the map. Ooh, is forced to take the triangular third. This is actually pretty important. Pretty impactful here. Now, this forward third base is very exposed, very vulnerable to something like Glaive Adepts. Glaive Adepts would just wreak havoc if we droned. Otherwise, this could also be a really good launch pad to spread creep across the map and to go for an all-in. So it's a very interesting base to take. Once again, it is a Phoenix opener out of Classic, as to be expected. He's been in love with it. He's very fond of going for these Phoenix-based openers in PvZ. He's less concerned when it comes to dealing economic damage like an Oracle opener. He's more concerned about just hiding his tech. And we'll see what direction he takes us in. Phoenix is revealed. Overlord is going to be shut down. This should be leading into a third base. And then that second form of tech. Oh, actually, never mind. We're going for a very fast Twilight Council. Oh my god. This is different. This is a Twilight Council before third. So a very aggressive build here from Classic. This doesn't have to be Glaives. I'm really curious. So this could be Glaive Adepts, sure. Based on how early this is, this could also be Charge. I'm curious. I'm curious if we go for one or the other. Show us what she got. There it is. Glaives is on the way. We do take the third gas and the fourth gas. I was keeping my eye on the gases here at the natural to see if he would take them. Yes, we are investing. So Glaive Adepts are on the way here for Classic. As I mentioned before, based on the base location, it is something that we can abuse. Really fast Roach Warren, we're going all in. As I was distracted by what Classic was doing, Dark is going all in. He is going for the Queen Walk across the map. We spoke about the temptation. We spoke about how Dark did this against Firefly and how it's so tempting to go for these Queen Walks on Oceanborn. And Dark, he's giving in and he has been scouted. Now, Classic, can we defend? You will have Glaive Adepts here back at home. Shield batteries are on the way. 4 of them. Oh boy. But because we're on Oceanborn, the rush distance by ground is very short. It is very short. Dark, he is arriving. The Queens, they still take a little bit of time to get across the map. The Oracle full of energy. We only have 1 Oracle, bear that in mind. Lings won't be the issue though, it's going to be the Roaches and the Ravagers. I do appreciate though that these shield batteries are spread out. We're going for the surround. Big stasis. Massive stasis on the Lings. A good start here for the Protoss. Oh, and Dark is droning. Yeah, just like that. Classic defense. The shield batteries, they finished up just in time. This stasis was the real deal breaker. It was the real deal breaker here for Dark. Dark, he was getting ready to dive and to surround and to bile. He wanted to surround this army and bile it down. But he gets completely shut down, and now Dark is in a really rough position. Dark is droning as heavily as possible, backing off a late lair. Remember, this was a push, a hatch tech push. So the lair is still on the way. No upgrades, and now Classic can counterattack. I love that Classic isn't staying back at home. He isn't afraid of a counterattack. He's being very assertive. No fear. No fear as Adepts, they do continue to threaten those shades. Behind this, getting on top of the Ravagers. Oh. Clutch Transfuse, we're going to be able to hold on. Alright, he is holding. We haven't committed to a shade yet. Again, we have far too many Ravagers for that. But ideally, Classic was hoping to force out some more units. Whew, and Classic doesn't deal any damage. Dark, he's been able to recover somewhat. Classic is still ahead in the economy, still up in probes. Oracle going to be threatening here this mineral line, getting an eye on the saturation, on the gases. And we have our follow-up tech here. It's going to be a second Robo and a Robotic Spay. Looks like Colossus production. So double Robo Colossus here from Classic. He's taking a 4th, and he's going to be taking a more defensive position here. The downside is that we are skipping safety immortals, which is a little bit concerning. Just based on how many Ravagers we have and how many Roaches we have. So Dark is going to be pushing on the right-hand side. He has been spotted. Classic getting in position. And thankfully Dark, he isn't doubling down. Well, we do have a Nidus on the way, but we also have an Infestation Pit. Are we thinking Swarm Host? I mean, Dark is behind. And we have seen Swarm Host be very effective when it comes to gaining value and gaining efficiency over the course of a game. There it is, Swarm Host. Let's go. So basically, if you're curious, Dark, he is very much so willing to embrace Swarmhost if he's behind. Like, he knows that he has a worse economy, he's really struggling to recover. And because Swarmhosts are energy, or they're not energy-based units, but they have a lot of free units, over time he can, of course, save his resources, spend them elsewhere, just based on Locust Waves. So this is a very good way to come back in a game. Here we go. Nidus Swarm is on the way. Swarmhosts are moving out. This first Locust Wave is going to be very important, because so far Classic doesn't know. He's unaware. He's unaware of the Swarmhost. Nidus will finish, and we need to get on top of the production or the natural base. Locust Wave coming in. The blink! Oh, we shut down the Nidus. The Nova's going to be going off. Big connections as well on the Swarmhost, and this is brutal. We're trying to evacuate. We have a backup Nidus. Locust Wave is spent, and the Nidus will not finish. Dark, he gets caught out. At the same time, though, he's pushing on the right-hand side. He may lose the Swarm Host, but he is taking down the fourth. And the Nexus will fall. Classic out of position. Committing a little bit too hard to this. I mean, he may have shut down the Swarm Host, but Dark still deals damage. Takes down the Nexus, takes down 7 probes. And Dark, he's done with the Swarm Host at this point. We're getting into Hive Tech, Hydras, soon to be Lurkers. Hydra, Lurker, Viper. That's the end goal for Dark. That's the ideal composition. Can he get there? Right now he's being as active as possible. His goal here as well is to keep Classic contained, keep him back at home. The Disruptor! First Disruptor goes down. Good target firing here from Dark. Classic caught out of position. Just caught overextending. Even here, Dark, he's more than happy to trade. We'll back off. Locust Wave coming in. How many Swarm Hosts do we have? We have not too many. 8 Swarm Hosts. We have our Colossi. The Locust Wave does get into the mineral line. Yeah, probes are going down. Oh my god, so many of them! It doesn't take too long at all. A couple of seconds and 20 probes go down. And suddenly Classic is in a world of hurt. He's all in. He's completely all in at this point. And we have potential. I mean, Dark doesn't have Lurkers yet. The Lurker Den is on the way, don't get me wrong. But it's not ready. We do catch some of these roaches. In a head-to-head fight, I do have to favor Classic's army, as more roaches get picked off. But again, Classic, we have to send it. Like, the longer this goes on, the better it is for Dark. Looks like Classic is waiting for +2. +2 still on the horizon. Reinforcements are on the way. And yeah, we got to push. We have the War Prison to reinforce. Looking at the armies, we have 42 roaches. Dark is maxed out, but the soup does lie. A very inefficient army from Dark. He wants to get on top of the Colossus. From behind, the Swarm Host, the Locust Wave, we get a full surround. And it looks like we should be able to clean this up. Classic overextending. And one Colossus goes down. The second Colossus as well. The Swarm Hosts are doing what they can. GG gets called. And Dark will take the series 2-1, advancing on to the grand finals. GG. Whew. GG, well played. Dark will bounce back here. Had a really rough start. Remember, it all started with a failed all-in. Dark committed to a Queen Walk, a Ling Roach Ravager push. Didn't work. Didn't break and didn't really do enough damage. Dark was able to pivot away from that, was able to bounce back as well. The Swarm Hosts, they did their job. They were able to... They themselves didn't kill a base, but they created the opportunity that Dark needed to snipe the fourth. And from there, he was just bouncing back and forth between the bases and pulling Classic apart. Eventually forced the all-in, and Classic just did not have enough to commit to an all-in at that point. GG. Congratulations to Dark. My condolences to Classic, as he is going to be eliminated from the tournament. And we have to catch up on what's been going on in the brackets and what's been going on in the lower half. Ooh, GG. A big shout out to Ortinko. Thank you so much for the bits, for the 400 bits, 500 bits even. Thank you, do appreciate it. Thank you so much. Hope you've been enjoying the content. Hope you've been enjoying the stream. Gracias, papi, gracias. Locust DPS is absurd. They do have a very high attack rate. As we saw, it didn't take long at all to kill a mineral line. Yeah, that is the strength of the Swarm Host. Classic had an opportunity there to shut them down. If you remember, he was marauding out of the map. He was able to shut down the Nidus Worms. It was a really good moment. Unfortunately, we weren't able to split up our army. There was a lot that was a part of the marauding force from Classic that shouldn't have been there. He just was really not expecting a counterattack. If he was able to keep his Colossus and his disruptors on the right hand side, he would have been able to hold on to his fourth. But he just was not really expecting a second attack and a second army. He was just hyper fixated on shutting down the Swarm Host, hyper fixated on getting on top of that, and unfortunately just wasn't able to. Or, I mean, he was able to, but was taken advantage of. Was taken advantage of, and so with that, Dark will be making it to the grand finals, and we can quickly take a moment to look at the rest of the bracket. So catching up in the chat. Oh, you don't have to scroll in a circle when you're pointing something out. We see it too. I mean, it's for effect. It's usually when it's, I mean, in my opinion, usually when it's something worth pointing out, something impactful to the game. It's not like it's like, oh, he's throwing down a sporting pool. But if it's a 12 pool, yo, we zoom in, Bobby. We zoom in. But we do have the lower semifinals. CranKy, the Spanish caster, is going to be covering Kira versus Oliveira in a TBT, currently mid-series. And let's have a look here. It looks like they're in game number 2, and one of our players is leading the series. Oliveira is leading the series 1-0. So just catching up. But yeah, CranKy is in game number 2 of Oliveira versus Cure. I will give a link in the chat if you guys want to open up another tab and cover it. Are you continuing streaming, or are we going to go somewhere else with that? We're not going anywhere. What are you? CranKy is covering the lower semifinals, so we're going to be going on a short break. We're going to be going on a short break, waiting for the lower semis to finish. Either Cure wins this game, and then we can jump into the ace match, or Oliveira takes a 2-0, and then we just cover the grand finals instead. So one or the other is going to occur. And we'll get ready for that. Oh, predictions, right? Predictions. We have to pay them out. Predictions will be paid out. As regardless of the opponent, Dark will have a Terran opponent in the grand finals. It is going to be a ZVT. Classic was the Protoss hope. Unfortunately, there was no Hero wasn't here. Hero is missing today, and it's very possible that maybe he's just, you know, enjoying the end of year and taking some time, you know, with his family, with his wife, of course, and just chilling. That would make a lot of sense. I mean, we're closing in on New Year's, so Hero, of course, with other commitments, unfortunately wasn't here to wave that that Protoss flag. Regardless, it is going to be a solid finals nonetheless. But until then, we are going to be going on a short break. We're going to be heading over here to a short break. Again, as I mentioned before, when we return, we'll either have a TVT or a TVZ. We'll keep you guys updated. Until then, enjoy CranKy. Enjoy CranKy and Ledmos. We'll see you guys in a couple of minutes. Take this moment to get some water, get some snacks, drain your disruptors, massage your marines, cuddle your carriers, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes. See you soon. welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the Grand Finals. The Grand Finals of the Korean StarCraft League, week number 40. I apologize for the extended break, but we did have to wait for Oliveira versus Cure to conclude, and we have our results. Oliveira did take down Cure 2-0. Taking him down 2-0 and has advanced on to the Grand Finals to face off against Dark. Vetoes are done, the lobby has been made, and we are loading into game 1 of this best of 5. Here we go. And if you're in the chat, on Twitch, predictions will soon be open, so you can place your bets on who you think is going to be this week's champion. Will it be our Zerg or our Terran? Will it be Dark or Oliveira? Up to you to decide. Best of luck as predictions are open, and spawning in the top left hand corner of site Delta, we have the Chinese Terran player. Oh god, I'm just typing into, there we go. We have our Chinese Terran player representing CranKy Z Gaming, the reigning world champion. It is Oliveira. And spawning in the bottom right hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Zerg player representing CranKy Z Gaming as well. These are teammates. It is Dark. DKZ is one of the stronger teams out there, one of the best teams in the world when it comes to StarCraft, and I mean, they've got some pretty hefty players. Oliveira, Dark, Hero, the best of the best only for DKZ, and yeah, we'll see which way this goes into the Grand Finals. It's going to be a best of 5, so we have plenty of games ahead of us. We have plenty of games to sink our teeth into. I look forward to it. And I'm really curious to see how Oliveira approaches his opponents. Oliveira is a very aggressive player, typically. A very aggressive Terran player. I mean, as I say that, we have seen him play and whip out mech from time to time. I haven't casted too much of Oliveira's TVZ in recent weeks, so I'm not too sure if he's embraced the new Cyclone as other Terran players have. But I'm sure he's willing to incorporate it in some way. What I mean by that is, for example, Cure is very fond of Cyclone-based openers, going for reactored Cyclones instead of reactored Hellions. I feel like Cure is very unique in that sense. As I say that though, Clem, Hero Marine, a lot of the European Terran players have also been embracing and mixing in some heavy Cyclone-based builds. A little bit less so when it comes to the other Korean Terrans though, like Bjorn, Oliveira as a result as well. Bjorn, Oliveira, Maru, they've been a lot more biocentric, have of course been in love with the Bjorn 2-Rax opener, Bjorn / Maru 2-Rax opener that they've been incorporating quite a lot of. We'll see. We'll see what kind of direction Oliveira does take us in, as for now, it is going to be a standard opener. Rax Expand. Rax Expand out of Oliveira going into that factory. Meanwhile, behind this, Dark going Hatch Gas Pull into Link Speed. Standard openers all around. This should be leading into a third CC. Something that I should bring up though is the fact that we have seen quite a lot of Terran players actually be hyper aggressive. I say a lot of Terrans, specifically Bjorn and Maru. They've been going for so many 2-base all-ins. It's crazy. It's like these past 2 weeks, like Bjorn and Maru, they just refuse to expand, and thankfully Oliveira is one to expand instead. Third CC before Starport, very economic opener here out of our Terran player. This should be leading into a Starport, should be leading into an add-on swap as well. Potentially Banshee based opener or a Liberator. We're calming things down. There's that Starport now in production. There's the add-on swap. The Rax is pretty far away from the Starport, so it doesn't look like we're going to be going into Banshee production. We may just go Tech Lab straight into Stim. Overlord dips in, does get eyes on the timing of the Starport, so Dark, he knows it's going to be a 3CC open. He is aware. He is aware at this point. So upon seeing that, he can drone up, he can opt to delay or even, just delay and skip his layer timing, go for faster Evo chambers. Dark has some options. Does shut down that Reaper. Nice control there out of Dark. Hellions have hit the field, so they're going to be forcing Dark back. And as we mentioned before, because of the placement of these buildings, it is not an add-on swap, which means that it is not Banshee. We are going into Liberators instead. I'm a little bit surprised that, there we go. Tech Lab is now on the way. It is a little bit delayed for Oliveira, but should be going straight into Stim. straight into Stim. So the way this dynamic works is that we're going to have a group of Hellions marauding around the map, hoping to try to drag the Queens out of position, and then bam, the Liberator rocks up and can get damage done in the main base, or vice versa, where the Liberator draws the attention of the Queens, and then the Hellions can get into a mineral line. Either or, Oliveira is looking for some economic damage. It doesn't really, there's no like pressure on him though, just because he has a 3rd CC, so he should be soon landing it on location and expanding behind this. He's applying pressure and just trying to make Dark as uncomfortable as possible. So far, Queens are keeping up with the rotations of the Hellions. We are keeping up. Oh. We are keeping up. Liberator on the way, not towards the main base, but towards the 3rd instead. Ooh, Dark cutting corners. No spores. No spores in position. Does mean that this Lib can get damage done. There we go. Does siege up in the 3rd base. Queens are being drawn over towards that Liberator, which means the Hellions can go in. Dark, oh, not quite in position. Does have a couple of Lings. But is it going to be enough? As Hellions, they make their way into the natural. We do have plenty of Lings to deal with this. Reinforcements, they arrive just in time, and we will shut this down. How many drones? 2 workers fall. And that is not enough damage. And now Dark can go for a massive counterattack. And this Ling counterattack isn't designed to push into the natural, but it is designed to deny the 3rd. We just deny the 3rd base, contain Oliveira to 2 bases for as long as we can. And that dive had potential, but yeah, it was lackluster. So Dark is in a really good position. He shut down the Hellions, shut down the Liberator. It wasn't worth it here for the Terran. And as we mentioned, the goal here is just to delay mining for as long as we can. Marines are available. We go for the surround. Dark gets the surround of the Marines. There's no way out. SCVs are being pulled. And Dark will clean this up, and this is getting out of hand. So many Marines have fallen. The wall does lift. But again, Dark can just threaten that 3rd base. Finally, Oliveira's going to be able to force this back. He's going to be able to mine from his 3rd, but this is quite a hefty amount of damage. Behind this, Dark doing something that we don't get to see often enough in ZVT. It's going to be Ling Bane, not Hydra, not Ultra, Muta. Let's go. Ling Bane Muta on the way here for Dark. And after cutting the Marine count in half, like, Dark is looking in a pretty good position here. You can get away with Mutas. Mutas can be really risky just because you are vulnerable to a ground-based push before you can get your Muta flock up and running. But Oliveira is stuck at home. His economy has been hindered, has been scouted, and Dark should be able to get away with the Mutas. +1 air attack on the way, 1-1, bathing speed. Now, because Dark is still investing into his Evo Chamber upgrades, he's not going mass Muta, but he will have enough Mutas to shut down drop play and to harass mineral lines. First double drop is pushing, but it is only a double drop. Means Dark is going to be able to keep up. That's a lot of creep that is being denied. Dark should be looking to respread that creep as quickly as possible. Mutas are going to be bypassing the army. They're going straight for the bases of Oliveira. Trying to bait out that Widow Mine. Oh! Nice bait on the first mine. There is a second Widow Mine behind this. I'm loving the shuffling here of Oliveira. Does rotate the mines. Double drop towards the south. Well, the second mine shot gets baited out, and here we go. Dark, he can shut this down. But is he in position? Meanwhile, the Mutas, they get into the main base. No turrets whatsoever. The Spire was not scouted, was not seen. Oliveira is just not ready for it. At the same time, going for another drop towards the south. He needs to get damage done, because this is getting out of hand. 9 SCV kills. Did you force a cancel on the 5th? Pretty good. Pretty good damage. Oh, the mine! Mine shot goes off, shuts down some more of these Mutas. But again, only two Mutas go down. We get 9 SCVs. We're doubling down on Muta production. Dark is looking pretty comfortable. I mean, he could do with a 5th base, don't get me wrong. Could do with some additional creep as well towards the south. Oliveira getting ready to just reposition his army. Where does he want to go? We're getting into Widow Mines, Thor production, Drilling Claws as well. Turrets are finishing. Oliveira making everything anti-Muta. Getting as much anti-air as possible. But the problem is that because of the early game, because Oliveira lost so much map control early on. Dark, he's already up to 80 workers. He's driven up to 80. We should be seeing a hive soon or an infestation bit soon. Dark is maxing out on Lingbane Muta. Dark is in the driver's seat. And Oliveira can't really be active on the map. Not anymore. Nice snipe on the Widowmine. Now, in a head-on engagement, Oliveira has potential, depending on how good the mine shots are. The Widowmines, we're pretty heavily reliant on these Widowmines initially to take a fight. Darky rotated over towards the third base. Oliveira, half his army out of position. We'll get here in time. First Widowmine goes off. Banelings are rolling in. They crash into the Widowmines. We have plenty more Banelings where that came from. We just collapse on the army as well, and we just don't have enough. Not enough mines, not enough tanks, bunkers, no defensive position. GG gets called. Dark swallows up the army of Oliveira and takes game number 1. Whew. GG. GG. Again, Oliveira just having a really rough early to mid game, where Oliveira, if you remember, did lose his Liberator, lost his Hellions, lost a lot of map control early on, and he didn't achieve anything for it. And if you remember, as soon as he lost those Hellions, as soon as he lost that Liberator, immediately Dark counterattacked, was able to delay the third, kill SCVs, cripple the Marine count as well. Things started to snowball out of control after Oliveira did end up losing those first Hellions. And Dark was in the driver's seat. He was able to get away with the Mutas and able to get away with that game. GG. But that was only game 1, and this is a best of 5. It's going to be a best of 5 series here, so we still have a way to come back in this game. We can get a more back and forth. I'm hoping we can have a more back and forth game here, but it's not on me. It's on Oliveira. And I'm sure this game wasn't too much to... I'm sure it was pretty easy to reconcile for Oliveira as well. Like, a lot of this game did come down to his Hellion dive. If he hadn't gone for the dive, then we would have seen a very different game. And Oliveira would have been in a much better position. So, here we go. As we get into game 2, we're going to have to tighten things up here, especially against Dark. He is so willing to just exploit any kind of weakness, any kind of sign of vulnerability. He will be all over you. And here we go. Spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Hardland, we have the reigning world champion, the Chinese Terran player representing Dragon KZ Gaming. DKZ, it is Oliveira. And spawning in the top left hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Zerg player, also representing Dragon KZ Gaming. It is Dark. Is leading the series 1-0. We go. And oh my god. Dark looking to spice things up a little bit here, going for a spawning pool first. We're going for a pool first instead. Dark, with this, he will gain access to faster lings. He's going to be able to sneak out across the map and delay the CC from his opponent. I imagine that's going to be the goal here of Dark. Is a relatively safe way to open up as well, in case he believed his opponent would be going for something like a proxy. But yeah, Dark is going to be the first to vary up his opener. Meanwhile, Oliveira back at home, going for what looks to be a Rax expand. We are going to be easing ourselves into this. If Oliveira, I'm sorry, I didn't miss game 1, whether or not Oliveira went for an SCV scout. If he skips the SCV scout, then he may be caught out of position, but here we go, the SCV is moving out across the map. With this, Oliveira will get eyes on the late hatchery, will be aware of the pool first, and he should keep his Reaper back at home to defend. As Lings are on the way. Again, thankfully, Oliveira is not going to be cutting too many corners and not going to be skipping the worker scouts, as he does dip in, and will confirm how late that hatchery is. And hopefully he doesn't venture out too far with this Reaper. Yeah, he's staying at home. Thankfully. He is going to be chilling back at home. The Overlord does get eyes on the Reaper as well, so Dark, he knows that the Reaper is waiting for his Lings, so he will keep his Lings out on the map. So, yeah, a bit of a stalemate here when it comes to our initial units. Reaper's stuck at home. Lings can't push in because the Reaper's at home, and from here we're just going to be droning. Saturating our bases, working towards a third. Likewise, Oliveira getting into his factory behind us as well. Reaper does move out. The Overlord didn't see this, by the way. The Overlord was pushed away, so Dark is not aware that the Reaper is out of position. And by the time the Reaper does reveal himself, then Dark may have missed his opportunity to go in. Now, this follow-up scout is really important. Oliveira, he needs to realize whether or not there's a fast Roach War. Does see the lack of gases. Oliveira content with what he's seen. Now again, as the Reaper moves out, Lings move in, but Oliveira is so ready for this. He already evacuated his natural. Is oversaturated in the main, but again, he was so ready. He was anticipating the Lings to come in. So really good foresight, really good read out of Oliveira. Very nice play. Any lesser player would have lost SCVs there. Oliveira does come across those Lings. Behind this, a straight up 1-1-1. Delayed third CC. Very aggressive opener here out of Oliveira. And this is going to be a Hellbat push. We're doubling down. Armories on the way. Hellbats soon to be in production. So a very aggressive push here from Oliveira. This needs to trade well. Doesn't necessarily have to kill workers, but has to trade and clean up all the queens at least. And ideally, some worker damage. Just because we're going to be delaying that third CC for so long. Hellions, they rock up on the right-hand side. They're going to be able to get eyes on the third at least. We can see that Dark isn't really droning too much. He's saturating on 2 bases, going straight for the Roach Warren. And Dark, he should have Roaches in time. There we go, 6 Roaches in production. Dark hasn't really seen anything, but he's going for his own aggression, essentially, and it's going to work out well for Dark. Roaches are ideal against Hellbat pushes. We do catch an Overlord. Hellbats have been revealed. And Dark just so happens to be just so ready for this. There we go. Roaches, they have arrived. And we shouldn't lose any workers here whatsoever. We focus on the medevac. Are we morphing the Hellions and we're trying to get the hell out of here? And oh no! We will barely escape. At the same time, Dark gets across the map and gets eyes on the third TC. Does realize that it's still on the way, and Dark is doubling down. I mentioned before that Dark, he wasn't reactively going into Roaches. He wasn't reading Hellbats. He was just going for it. He just so happened to be going for his own Roach push, and he's committed. Dark is committed, and what do we have at home to defend? Bunker still on the way. No tanks, no Widow Mines. Banshee is coming out just in time, but here come the Ravagers. Now behind this, Dark is droning, but still committed with this. Still needs to break in. The Ravagers, they have arrived. It looks like we should be forcing a cancel on the third. It's going to be close. But yeah, we should force a cancel, and that is brutal here. Oliveira, he already had a late third base, and it's even later than normal. And Dark, he's content with that. He backs off. I mean, that's good enough. A massive delay here on the third. Oliveira behind this, throwing down 2 more Raxes. Dark behind this, he can just drone up freely. Yeah, Spores in position. Lair is on the way. The third base is slowly getting up and running. Yeah, Dark looking very comfortable. And yeah, this makes sense. Oliveira, he's double expanding. You don't see this too often, but just because of how late this third base is, double expanding makes plenty of sense for Oliveira. It's a bit of an extreme reaction, but very necessary just because of the game state. Because Oliveira is far behind. So getting his 4th and 3rd at the same time. Banshees, they dip in between the bases, they catch a drone. Threading the Queens, but again, we have plenty of Spores, and we should be able to force it back. We get a couple extra workers, though. 3 drones go down. Not too bad, but for the cost of a Banshee, suddenly not so worth it. We have a Hellion drop being set up as well. The goal here, Oliveira, he's hoping to keep these Queens distracted. The main base is looking vulnerable. Yeah, the Queens, they're busy chasing down the Banshee, and the Hellions go in. And we need to kill some workers. We need to roast up a mineral line. 6 drones, 8 drones so far going down. We get another 2. God, that medevac is so... No! No, not like this. We do miss path. We head into the Queen, take an extra hit, and the medevac goes down. Ay, ay, ay. I mean, sure, that was 11 worker kills, but remember, that was 11 workers for a medevac, a Banshee, Hellions. That wasn't for free. Thankfully, we still have at least one Banshee here on the right-hand side. Oliveira saturating his third, his fourth. Immediately, oh my, we're so bold. I love this. Immediately going to be landing the fourth base on location as soon as it's done. Like, this is a really risky investment out of Oliveira, but so far it is paying off. So far. Meanwhile, Dark is transitioning. Does have +1 melee on the way, so even though he started with Roach Ravager, he's pivoting away from that and getting into Ling Bane. He's going to be working towards Ling Bane Roach Ravager instead. With the Hive Tech, we can maybe even head towards Ultras. I'm not really reading Hydra Lurker yet, just because there are no range upgrades. But we'll see. We'll see what kind of direction Dark takes us in. As Dark is just amassing his army, working through those rocks. Meanwhile, Oliveira already saturating his fourth, by the way. So economically, Oliveira, he's catching up. He is catching up. As we're getting into our 8-rack setup, we have a second factory on the way, additional gas is being taken. Oliveira looking, yeah, pretty solid. Getting into a solid 4-base economy, 4-base production setup even. With the Hive Tech, there it is, Vipers are on the way. They will add a little more complexity to the army of Dark. Blinding Clouds are going to be king, especially against these tanks. Blinding Clouds are going to be very impactful, especially considering that Oliveira doesn't have a Ghost Academy, I believe. Yeah, no Ghost Academy, no Ghosts. There is no counter to those Vipers. There's no way to really force them back other than like trying to dive on them. So Dark, with a stronger economy to begin with, he's now using that to get into better tech. Faster tech. Here we go. Both armies have maxed out. Oliveira going to be pushing, but he does run into the army. Remember, Dark doesn't want to commit to a fight without Vipers. Vipers are going to be so necessary here, and here we go. We're going to be pushing in. The Banelings. Oh, we do catch the army on siege, and even without the Vipers, we clean up all the tanks. Oh, most of them. Oliveira going to be able to force this back. Keeps one tank alive. Where were the Vipers, by the way? That's what I want to know. I mean, they're full of energy. There we go. Vipers now on the way. What we miss? What happened? So we're going to be going for some power bombs here on the medevacs instead. The drops are going to be forced back. Yeah, power bombs on the heavy medevac even. Oof. Barely one of them's going to be going down. But Dark doesn't have enough to break through. He's waiting for reinforcements. Now he's committing. There we go. Gets one of those tanks. Gets the other as well. Even a medevac with the biles. Very nice pickoffs. Meanwhile, with the Vipers being revealed, we already have the Ghost Academy. Ghost production is commencing. +3 is on the way. Oliveira is on the back foot. He hasn't really been able to be too assertive and too aggressive on the map. He's stuck at home. Meanwhile, Dark is working towards those Ultras. Now, the downside here for Dark is that his only anti-air is Queens and Parasitic Bombs, so these medevacs are going by a bit uncontested. It is difficult for Dark to keep up and shut them down. But with the Queens are in position, they take down the Lib! Take down the Liberator. Another Liberator goes down here. We do trade with 6 drones, which is okay, but not ideal. This is worth it, though, as we do snipe a base. The Marauders, they go ham. They take down the hatchery. They focus down the drones. Really nice target firing. At the same time, though, Darky pushes. He denies the 5th. For a moment. A bit of a give and take. Oliveira was able to achieve quite a bit by shutting down that base. He did lose 2 full medevacs. Still trying to be as active as possible despite being down in supply. A bit of mines are fanning out. Turrets are on the way. We can see Oliveira, he's now taking more defensive position here with turrets, missile turrets, sensor towers, tanks. Soon to be SimCity. He is trying to turtle. Some okay mine shots. They're okay. Meanwhile, I'm sure Dark wants to get rid of these Ravagers. He has a little bit too many of them. He wants to get into those Ultras, into Spellcasters. Kind of splitting his weapon finish up. Good snipes here on the Ravagers. At the same time, Dark hoping that Oliveira does overextend. And we're diving on the army, trying to force some friendly fire, but the mine shots do not go off. Nice power bombs here. Shutting down those Medivacs. Kind of splitting is done. Now we have Overlord speed. Overlord? Ultra speed on the way. And Oliveira has been able to establish the center base. Planetary is done. Slowly getting up and running. Oliveira on 80 workers. He has a solid economy. He can sustain himself. And there it is. Second starport. Fusion cores on the way. I would love BCs, but this should be for Liberator range and Liberators. Again, Liberator Ghost is what we want to be working towards. Some decent mine shots. Oliveira just does not have enough to keep on pushing. Going for a drop on the right-hand side, but Dark has eyes on this. He will chase this down. Mine's connecting with mainly Lings. The Vipers overextend. The snipes go off. Big pickoffs. Big snipes there from Oliveira. I think 2 of those Vipers. And Dark hasn't really been trading well recently. He's been able to keep up with the drops, true, but he took a lot of mines to the face with his Lings. He lost his Vipers, of course. Because Dark hasn't been trading well, he doesn't have a bank. Has no bank. He's trying to establish another base, but Oliveira is pushing. Dark is hurting. Yeah, forced to cancel. At the same time, trying to go for a Ling counterattack. Does get a tank, and this is what Dark needs to get going. Needs to go for these counterattacks, these run-bys. There we go. Ling drop into the main. We need to force Oliveira back. Dark needs some breathing room. Decent fungal. Catch some Marauders. We'll drop into the main base. Ling's getting ready to harass this third as well. Dark is looking to pop off. Meanwhile, when it comes to tech, still no Lurker Den or Greater Spire, I believe. Oh, sorry. No, Greater Spire is done. Working on +1 air attack. Ling drop into the main base, hoping to force an overreaction. Ling's also threatening the third, but alas, they are forced back. And we can maybe shut down these E-bays, but 3-3 has already finished. Oliveira pushing through on the front lines. Massive Winter Mine shots. And Oliveira doesn't lose too much here. Lost both of his engineering bays, true. But he's already got his upgrades. Lost 8 SCVs. That was not really what Dark was looking for. And you can see Dark plummet in supply. Now he has a bit of a bank to work with, but what do we remax on? That's the question. There it is. Ultras. Ultras are finally on the way, and we're looking for a juicy... Oh no, the scan! I was gonna say, we're looking for a juicy fungal, but it's not gonna happen. Both infestors get shut down. Keen eyes here from Oliveira. Like, that's the only shot, the only chance here that Dark has is to lock down the army with those fungals. Ooh, big mine shots. Pressures are set up. Fungal is connecting. We do catch the ghosts. A big catch here. 5-6 ghosts go down. Finally, Dark trading well. But we still have another 6 ghosts here on the right-hand side. Oliveira still has a standing army. He scans! And does catch the infestor. Again, just really good game sense, or just really good vision in general from Oliveira. Like IRL vision, just seeing those infestors, seeing their shimmers, their shadows on the ground. Catching them off. At the same time, Ultra's going for a counterattack, but the main push, can it be stopped? I'm not too sure if it can. Corruptors are arriving. Biles, they rain down on the army, but no big connections. Lings are getting damage done. They get 13 SCVs. And it looks like we should be able to force this back. Power bombs on Liberators. The Corruptors, they clean up most of the Libs. And the Ultras, they're not done. They're looking for even more SCVs. They get another 11, 13, 15. 15 SCV kills. That's 2 mineral lines. No longer mining. And things are getting a bit chaotic here. Suddenly, Dark has taken an economic lead. He has the better worker counts. He is remaxing. But Oliveira still has the more efficient army. Doesn't have as many Liberators as he wants. No, the Infestor! That does waddle into the scan. We've been a little bit careless with these Infestors. I mean, I say that. I mean, just a little bit unlucky. Unfortunate that they have been caught out. He scans, he sees! Shuts down another Infestor. Here we go, we are pushing forward, denying another one of these hatcheries. Infestor going to be going down. And here we go, we're just luring the army out. Big Fungal on the Ghost! The mine shots were insane, but we do clean up the Ghost. We shut them down. Another Fungal as well. GG gets called though. Dark, that's all he had left. The one fight, and Oliveira will tie it up 1-1. GG. You can see that Dark, he had no money, no economy, no bank. It was all or nothing. And Oliveira ties it up 1-1. GG. Oh my god. I'm looking at the graphs. Both players had pretty comparable armies at the end there, but Dark had nothing else remaining behind it. Was broken. And as we get ready for game 3, a big shout out to Falcon Paladin. Thank you so much for the raid. Hope you had a great stream. Hope you had a great cast. I'm assuming maybe a cast, maybe a ladder session. Falcon Paladin, of course, being another fellow English caster. Thank you so much. Thank you. Again, hope you had a great time as we're settling into game number 3. Doing a 3v3 ladder session. Oh, I see. Fair enough. Hope you enjoyed your team games. Not the most balanced of formats, but a lot of fun. A lot of fun with a good group of friends. Hope you had a great time. As we are settling into game number 3 to determine who takes a lead in the finals. Here we go. And spawning in the top right hand corner of Alcyone, we have the Chinese Terran player, the Red Terran representing CranKy Z Gaming, tying up the series 1-1 in the last game. Looking to take a lead here. It is Oliveira. And spawning in the bottom left hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Zerg player, the Blue Zerg representing CranKy Z Gaming, as they are teammates. Being forced into a tied up series, it is Dark. Again, Oliveira was trading so efficiently that last game. Again, just have eagle vision there, just sniping so many of those Infestors. I should say, scanning so many of those Infestors. It wasn't until the end of the game where Dark was finally landing with some Fungals, where finally we were able to take down some of the Ghosts, but by that point it was just too late. By that point, Oliveira was just trading so well and was just so far ahead, and with that, was able to tie it up. And now we're getting into game number 3. And I'm really curious to see how Dark approaches this. As we load into game 3, we're on a much larger map here. Alcyone, known for its split map scenario, known for its late game. There are so many bases to be taken, as well as these center goal bases as well. But Dark is usually a more aggressive and assertive player. Not saying he's going to go all in, but usually reliant on roaches, for example, in the mid game, hoping to end the game a little sooner if possible. But it's just so difficult to pull that off on Alcyone. The defender's advantage here, especially at this third base, is brutal. The high ground, the points of elevation, the Zonaga tower as well. Because of this Zonaga, depending on who has control of it, you will get eyes on a push that much faster, that much sooner. We'll see. So far, Rax expand. Standard opener out of Oliveira. Likewise, Dark going for a hatch gas pull. Here we go. Again, sorry, for for those that are tuning in from the raid, this is of course the grand finals of the KSL, of the Korean StarCraft League. Not just the grand finals, but also the final KSL of the year, as we are nearing the end of 2023. We are wrapping up a year of StarCraft. It's been a great time. It's been really cool to see the community come together for KSL. For those that are curious, this is of course a tournament that is funded by the community with a Patreon. Exclamation mark KSL in the chat. To get the link to said Patreon as well, where you can gain access to replays as well as just supporting the Korean scene. It's all available to you. So we're settling into game number 3, and so far it is going to be an economic opener out of Oliveira. It is going to be going for a 3rd CC before Starport. Starport is on the way. Once again, the Rax is a little bit further away, so it doesn't look like we're going for an add-on swap. Doesn't look like a Banshee-based opener. Winding it back to game number 1 could be Liberators and Hellions once again. But overall, economic opener out of Oliveira. Dark still trying to piece this together. Just going to be droning. And making sure he shuts down this Reaper. At least zones it away. Here we go. And yeah, as we mentioned before, there is that Liberator on the way in production. Again, the Rax was just too far away to really get into a viable add-on swap there. It would have taken a little bit too long, as buildings do take quite some time to float around. And hopefully Oliveira is going to have better success with this. If you weren't here for game number 1, it was on site Delta, and Oliveira did go for a Hellion Liberator opener, and he kind of misjudged the situation. He dove into the natural with his Hellions, and he lost everything, and he didn't get a single drone. That's how brutal it was. He didn't get a single worker. The Liberator did kill 2 drones in the main. That's all it really accomplished, and it all got shut down. Dark got map control because he was able to clean up all those Hellions. Dark denied the 3rd, was able to kill SCVs, and contained Oliveira to 2 bases for a lot longer than he would have liked, and it was just a really rough start for Oliveira. It did snowball into a victory for Dark. So hopefully this time Oliveira will have a little bit better judgment when it comes to when and where he does dive and commit with his Hellions. We can't throw them away. It's tempting, don't get me wrong, it's so tempting to maybe see a vulnerable location, a vulnerable mineral line, and just go for it. But if Dark is lying in wait, and if he traps your Hellions, then suddenly everything goes south. So we go Liberator making its way towards the natural, avoiding the 3rd. No spores in the natural either. Hellions, they're running past the Queens, but going for the dive once again. This time the drones are lining up. We have a handful of Lings in position. 3 drones go down, but it looks like it's going to be a one-way trip, and the Hellions, can they escape? The drones! He wants them! Ooh, does get another volley off. 8 workers this time. Much better than game 1. We do get 8 worker kills at the cost of all those Hellions, but that may have just been enough. Back at home, there's not really much to protect this 3rd base. We have a handful of Marines. Dark is going to be moving out with his Lings. But Oliveira should be okay back at home. He should have enough to hold on. So this time a much better trade for the Terran. Lings do arrive. They're going to be able to deny a depot. That's a kill, not a cancel. But we can't get into the mineral line. And Oliveira, he will get away with his 3rd base this time. Meanwhile, behind this, we have +1 range on the way alongside the Roach Warren. We mentioned it earlier, Dark, he is very much so one to embrace Roaches in ZVT, especially in the mid-game. And with +1 range on the way, this could eventually lead into something, sure, like a +2 timing, or even like a Hydra transition as the game goes along. We'll see. We shall see. Remember, last game, Dark also invested into Roaches, but he went into +1 melee. He had a much more cleaner, crisp transition into Ling Bane. So Oliveira is going to be pushing. Roaches are amassing. Dark getting a little bit supply block there. Was that what? 7, 8 overlords on the way. We do break free. Oliveira clearing up whatever creep he can, but he can't really threaten the hatchery. It's plenty in position. One of mine's going to be baited out. We do go for the drop into the main, though. Oliveira, bold move. Avoiding the army, going straight for the main base, but we are in position. Oliveira is going to be forced back. As he gets forced back, he's getting his third up and running. Fourth CC is on the way. Doesn't gain too much at that third. But so far, a really strong start here out of Oliveira. Meanwhile, Dark, he's pushing. He's going to be cutting workers here at 3-base saturation. That is 66 drones and no more than that. So Dark, he's just amassing roaches, and he will be hitting a timing with 1-1. 1-1 about to finish up in a couple of seconds. Dark is pushing. He's committed. And we don't have any tanks. Uh-oh. The first tank is still in production. And we're pushing our way up the ramp. And Marines, no bunkers. Oliveira was not expecting this. He was not ready for this. The boys are being pulled. And Oliveira is being caught with his pants down. SCVs are falling. We're trying to get on top of the Ravagers, but we have a massive wave of roaches coming in behind this. The factory is exposed. Even if the tank comes out, it will go down. And we take control of the third base as 20 SCVs falling. There's +2 range on the way. Dark doesn't need it. He may be able to break even the natural. You have one tank in the back line alongside some of these Liberators. Looks like we're going to be able to hold on to that natural base, but I can't say the same about the third. Dark does shut it down. He could even try to bile down the wall. Oh my god, he goes to the libs! Bold move, the unsiege! Just at the wrong time. Just as Oliveira unsieged, Dark, he pushes in, takes down the Liberators. And suddenly this position is that much weaker. Yeah, Dark, he smells blood. He's not droning. He droned up a little bit, droning up to 71, but now we have Blings and Roaches on the way. Dark, he's aware of how vulnerable Oliveira is. Takes down another tank. There's only one tank left. And it's going to get piled down. There is no escape. The tank falls. The boys are being pulled. Oliveira is hurting. 2 more tanks. They just now pop out. Yeah, Darky's waiting for the siege. Goes for the vials. Takes down another. Even within range of the armory as well. Oliveira's being a little bit cheeky as he loses the armory. He's going to be expanding on the right and left-hand side. He is muling. He's trying to make SCVs. Trying to make the best out of a bad situation. Meanwhile, Dark is going to be checking. He's fanning out his changelings. There we go. Is going to be distracted by the main army. We have a drop moving out, which means we have nothing at home to defend. Not like this. Oliveira dropping at the wrong moment. GG gets called, and Dark will take game number 3, taking a lead in this series. GG. GG. And to be fair for Oliveira, I mean, he had to go for a Hail Mary play. Like, he was already at death's door. Things were looking bleak for the Terran, as that 1-1 Roach timing really did catch him off guard. Oliveira had a better start, I should say, compared to what we've seen in the past. He had a better start, but it took him a little bit too long to recognize that Dark wasn't droning. That Dark had taken a 4th, but he wasn't saturating it. And he was just maxing out on Ling Roach Ravager. And unfortunately for Oliveira, he was just woefully underprepared. This is also the downside of going for a Liberator opener, is that Banshee-based openers aren't just designed to kill workers, but they're also amazing defensively against Roach-based compositions. After the initial harassing phase, they can turn back around. They can focus on Roaches, Ravagers. They can have their way with the ground army. They can be a really safe way to play against a player that's known for opening up Roaches, like Dark. But Oliveira has been avoiding the Banshees. He has been avoiding them, which is interesting. Interesting to say the least. And we'll see how he bounces back. We'll see if he can, because Dark is 1 game away. 1 game away from becoming this week's KSL champion. Oliveira needs to fight back here and now. Here we go. Spawning in the top right-hand corner of Solaris, we have the Red Terran player from the land of China, representing Dragon Kai Z Gaming, DKZ. It is Oliveira. He needs your help, he needs your support to bring him back to force the ace match. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Zerg player, the Blue Zerg, representing Dragon Kai Z Gaming, DKZ. Needs one more game, uno más, to take it all, to be this week's champion. It is Dark. We go. It all comes down to this. And so far, Dark not messing around with a pool first this time. He's just going to be going for a hatch gas pool opener. Everything's looking normal. Meanwhile, on the side of Oliveira, he's not tempted to go for a low ground 2-racks. He's not going for 2-racks Reaper. He is instead going to be a little bit more standard here, just going for a racks expand. Everything looking as it should for the time being. It's all looking normal. But we'll see how we deviate. We'll see where we deviate. Oliveira has been quite fond of the 3cc into Liberator opener, so we'll see if he relies on that again. We're on Solaris. It's quite a large map, a lot of bases to be taken, but the speed zones do add a little bit more complexity to this. The rush distance by ground is a little bit shorter because of that, because of these speed zones. But we do have to bear that in mind. Dark is just setting up here. We have our queens on the way, links as well. We pull out of gas, and should soon be working on that third. So there we go. The first Reaper does make his way across the map. Going to be threading that mineral line, dancing with the lings, but Dark shouldn't be losing any drones here. Should be able to dance with this Reaper, minimize his losses. Did invest and did make 6 lings instead of 4, so that is going to be one less drone that Dark has to work with, but he's just playing safe. Just being secure here against Oliveira. And once again, third CC. We have a 3cc opener here from Oliveira. Very economic. As we have seen plenty of times tonight. And this time, here we go. A big difference here, as you can see, is that for the first time this series, the racks gets floated further back next to the starport, which means we should be going for a tech lab here. Yep, there we go. Tech lab is on the way. And for the first time this series, Oliveira is going for a Banshee opener. Meanwhile, Dark is massing links. As we have a Banshee-based opener, Dark, he is going to be flooding lings across. That's a lot of lings, Papi. Oh my god. Just randomly cutting workers here at 27 and just sending nothing but lings across the map. And so far, this is unscouted. Oliveira back at home. He's just happily getting into his Hellions. And this is all about reaction time. It's all about whether or not Oliveira can react, can pull back and save these Hellions and avoid the surround. Same with these Hellions here. So far, we're on hold position on top of the ramp. Really good positioning here from Oliveira. Meanwhile, he does run into some of those lings. Again, good positioning here from these Hellions. We do get on top of one of those Hellions, so it will fall. And SCVs are going down. It looks like we're barely breaking through. But we do. We break through. We get on top of the Hellion. Likewise, we're still flooding nothing but lings across the map. Dark, he's completely all in with this. And he has broken the natural. The wall does get up. But we take control of the natural base, shutting down all these SCVs. 9 workers go down, and Dark is now droning. He's droning up behind this. Was this worth it, though? That's the question. Because these Hellions will be able to clean up the lings without too much issue. Dark has to retreat. Okay, so he killed 11 workers. He was able to get a couple of Hellions. This was 42 lings, a big investment from Dark. And behind this, he is vulnerable to a counterattack. Like, if Oliveira just sent his Hellions across the map, then Dark would be in a lot of trouble. Dark has droned up a little bit, saturating his natural. Getting into more lings. Meanwhile, Oliveira getting into his own racks production. The Banshee does move out across the map. We have not invested into Cloak. Just a vanilla Banshee. Yeah, so spores are not required. Queens are in position. The Banshee doesn't achieve too much at all. Dark still amassing links here towards the bottom right. Essentially, with this Overlord, he's waiting for the Hellion move out. If Oliveira were to counterattack with these Hellions, bam! Immediately a run by. Immediately Dark would push in. So we have our 3-1-1 setup. Dark does get eyes on the tank production. And this is his sign to drone. Again, he's aware of the 3cc, so he's just going to be droning. The game is settling from here. We're calming things down, Bob. We're calming down. Hellions are moving out, which means Dark could push forward. Yeah, the Hellions have been spotted by the Overlords. Dark, he's going for the dive. The wall is open. And there's not much at home to defend. We got to surround all these Marines. We can get on top of the tank. Oh, just barely do wall off. But SCVs are going down. The Hellions are racing back home. With the friendly fire. Oh my god. 7 SCVs. Fun fact, 6 of those SCVs were killed by the tank. That's what the battle report tells us. Ay, ay, ay. As Oliveira's going to be taking his third. Again, the Hellion counterattack wasn't able to achieve too much. And now Dark is getting into 1-1. Baliness is on the way. Lair as well. Lair is delayed just because of how chaotic the start of the game was. But we're working on it. And the game should be able to settle from here. Dark has a better economy, yes, but he's behind in tech. Like, tech-wise, he still has a lot of catching up to do when it comes to Lair tech, bailing speed, 2-2. Regardless, we're going to be calming things down. Oliveira being active here with a handful of units. Does catch an Overlord. The first 2 medevacs have arrived, so finally Oliveira can be active with some drop play. He can move out. So Lair is finally finishing up, and now we can settle into what we've been missing. Bailing speed, eventually an infestation pit. Drop is coming from the right-hand side. Not too much here in position to defend. Lings, they will be able to respond. They force the pick up. And with the completion of that lair, we're going straight into a Hydra Den. Okay. It's going to be a Lingbane Hydra out of Dark. And again, he's already at almost 80 workers, 76. Saturation-wise, looking good. Oliveira is going to be committing with this push, though. Stim is done. Combat shields, 1-1. How many tanks do we have with this? 2 tanks. Alongside all these Hellbats, and Dark is not quite ready for this. Bailing speed still a ways away, and yet Dark, he gives up the base. He does pull back. Yeah, very mature decision here from Dark. At the same time, going for a massive Link counterattack, and we are out of position. 10 SCVs. Oh, the Bailings! Are we looking? We're not looking. The Bailings, they will connect. We shut down the Marines, forcing friendly fire. Oliveira may have killed a base, but he didn't kill any workers. That's what's important. As Dark, he's waiting for Bailing Speed, and there we go. Bailing Speed has finished. Now we can engage. And Dark, he has more than enough. The Queens are pushing forward. God, how many Queens? 10 Queens! We gotta surround. Bailings roll in as well, and we will shut this down. The Marines will survive, but they have nothing to support themselves. They will supply block Dark for a moment. They're actually being focused down. Oh. To get one of them was empty, thankfully for Oliveira. Was empty as he's going for a double drop towards the north. Trying to go for a split push, trying to pull apart the attention of Dark. But I do worry for him just because Hydras are on the way. The northern drop has been spotted. Dark is keeping up. And Oliveira still just resaturating his third. Dark threatening a run by. Oliveira has to be wary. Hydras are coming out. Hive tech is upon us. So Hive is in production. Dark will be taking the center base. Dark could do with some more drones, but there it is. 5 more workers on the way. It's going to be 81 drones in total. An ideal worker count for Dark. And that means that Dark can focus on remaxing. And as Oliveira pushes out, there's just so much creep. There's just so much creep that we have to work through. Here's one Widowmine. He's going to get baited out, and there we go. Dark, he can pull the trigger. No detection, unfortunately. Yeah, Overseers are on the way. Oliveira establishing his 4th. Dark should be looking to respread as much of this creep as he can. Remember, he's got 10 queens. There we go. Dark going to be trying to collapse on this army. Pretty efficient trade here. Good stutter stepping out of Oliveira. Does escape. Does evacuate. And even though Dark is maxed out, Oliveira, he's slowly catching up. Slowly catching up in that army supply. Recovering with his worker count. But the problem is, though, the quality of the army. 3-3 on the way for all of our players. Liberator doing what it can. So we're heavily reliant here on these Marines. We do pick off one of those medevacs. We're gaining ground here in the center. Mine shot's going to be going off. Pretty big connections. Getting 4 drones. But we will swallow this up. Uh-oh. As we try to chase this down, these Widow Mines might reset, by the way. There is no detection. Okay, we notice. Thankfully, it looks like we do notice. We do pull back. Widow Mines are dealt with. Oliveira focusing on his main push. Now, when it comes to his army composition, it's just Marine Mine, essentially. There's 1 tank on the field, and it's defensive back at home. There's no Ghost production. There we go. Ghost Academy just now on the way for Oliveira. Barely any Marauders. It's a very fragile army here from our Terran. Has to be very careful with how he engages. 1 wrong step and Oliveira may lose everything. So far trading well though. Shaving off a lot of links. And the creep has been receding. Dark hasn't been able to keep up here with just respreading it. The other big thing that we've been missing, there we go, the medevacs! They get yoinked. 2 medevacs go down. The Vipers are the real MVPs. Oliveira finally starting up Ghost production, which will help. Will help against those Vipers. Dark is going to be rotating over towards the right-hand side. The 5th base is soon to be taken. Dark hasn't been able to touch the 4th or the 3rd in quite some time, but the 5th is more exposed. That's going to be the next target here for Dark. Meanwhile, Lunker Den is on the way. Hydra Lurker Viper on the horizon here for Dark. Oh, that's a lot of freedom. That's a lot of liberation zones. Meanwhile, we just avoid it. We avoid the Liberator's massive link counterattack here in the mineral line. The tank, once again, getting quite a bit of friendly fire. NCVs are getting picked off, and Dark, he wants to commit. He's going to be rolling on forward. Takes down a couple of Marauders. At the same time, he has taken control of this 3rd base. Dark may not have denied the 5th, but gets 6 SCVs. And now he can rotate over towards that 5th Nexus? That 5th CC. The mine shots, though. Widow Mines are going to slow him down. We catch the army! Oh my god. Oliveira, a bit of sleep at the wheel there, takes a bailing to the face. Not like this. Vipers pushing forward. Nice EMP on one of the Vipers, but not on the other. And we're going straight for the Nexus. God, straight for the Planetary. I don't keep saying Nexus, and GG is going to get called here as Oliveira, he loses control of his 5th and his 3rd, and he just cannot keep up. Dark will take the series 3-1, becoming this week's Korean StarCraft League champion. GG. GG, well played. Dark just all over Oliveira in this game. Looking quite comfortable out from the onset. In the initial Link Flood, was able to deal quite a lot of damage. And sure, Dark, he was a little bit behind when it came to his follow-up tech, but he had so much freedom to just drone up as heavily as he wanted to, drone up to 40, got all of his bases up and running, eventually get into the Lair tech and the Hive tech, and yeah, with that, Dark, he was in control. At no point was Oliveira able to really assert himself on the map. We had like that first double tank push, if you remember, the first double tank push which killed a hatchery. That was like the only time that Dark was ever really threatened. Outside of that, Dark had full map control, and Oliveira couldn't really assert himself, couldn't really be active, and GG. GG, well played. And with that, congratulations to Dark. My condolences to Oliveira, but hey, he went for a finals run. He made it all the way to the finals, so very impressive here from our Terran. And a Happy New Year. Happy New Year, because this was our final KSL of 2023. It all did end here. Of course, it's going to be coming back next year in 2024. I'm uncertain if we're going to be taking a hiatus. I think Chicken Man and Dave will be a little bit more aware of that. But regardless, we are going to be wrapping up the KSL for the year. But we're not done for the day. We're never done for the day. Obviously, here on the CranKy Ducklings, we're always live. We're always casting StarCraft. And we're going to be back in a couple of hours. I believe in 3 hours' time. Yes, oh, sorry, not 3 hours. Never mind. In an hour and 50 minutes. Just under 2 hours, we're going to be back with Grand Platypus Open number 100. 100 GPOs. A big number, a momentous occasion here for the CranKy Ducklings. This is a region-locked tournament for the Oceanic and Southeast Asian region. A tournament that we've been running for many years. We've been running ever since 2019. End of 2019 was when we first started hosting our tournaments, and it's been a long road, a long journey, and we're going to be hitting you with number 100 in a couple of hours. Just under 2 hours time, so I need to take this moment to quickly get some food. I'm starving. I need to get some food, get some water, get some rest, and we'll be back with our next broadcast. The final GPO of the year. When it comes to our tournaments, we will be going on a hiatus when it comes to GPO. We already had our last Sparkling Tuna Cup. We already had our last Tenacious Turtle Tussle. Our events are going to be going on hiatus for the month of January, and we're going to be just taking a moment to kind of reflect and go over what works, what doesn't work, what's popular, what isn't, and where we should invest and where we shouldn't as well. So we're going to be going over like a period of, you know, just going over everything in January. But again, for now, enjoy the final GPO, the final Grand Platypus Open. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be a lot of fun. Be a lot of fun. But with that, thank you so much everyone for tuning in. Thank you so much everyone for supporting. Big shout out to Falcon Paladin for raiding us earlier, and a big shout out to, I believe it was Ortinko, for the 500 bits. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the support. We do appreciate it. Again, our next broadcast is going to be in 2 hours time. If you are going to be going to bed, if you happen to be like in North America, for example, I know it's getting very late in the Americas, then we're going to be back tomorrow. In just over 24 hours, we're going to be returning with a replay cast of ESL Open Cup Americas. At the time, we weren't able to cast ESL Open Cup Americas because we were actually casting a different event. We were casting the Masters Coliseum Americas qualifiers, so those two tournaments did overlap. So we missed out on casting that ESL Open Cup live, so we're going to be going over the replays tomorrow. Tomorrow we will have that replay cast. So plenty of StarCraft here going on throughout the week. We were also going to have a New Year's event, which would have been crazy. We were going to have a New Year's event, but I believe that has been postponed. So what other events do we have going on? New Year's Day. ESL Open Cup Asia, of course. ESL Open Cup Asia, into Americas, into Home Story Cup. It's a lot of casting to do, a lot of coverage leading into the new year. So I hope everyone has been having a great time. Hope you've all been enjoying your weekend and your holidays. Happy New Year. Take care, everyone. Take care. We'll see you guys in a couple of hours for some more StarCraft. Until then, hasta luego. See you later. Bye. Hasta luego.